you were going to say the other favorite moment is when Brian Steele walked up to that stand, untied his tie, and told the judge if he was going to go to jail, he wants to be bunked with Thug.
That's crazy work.
It was
That's crazy work.
amazing. I said, I need him. That's who I want.
This is gonna be a Netflix series. It's gonna be amazing. Welcome back to Macrodosing. It is Thursday. It's October 24th. All right, we're back on Macrodosing. We got Arian, Big T, Mad Dog, McKenzie, and then we're going to be joined later by Melanie Goolsby, and she's going to talk to us about the YSL trial, the RICO trial taking place down in Fulton County, Georgia. It's been a crazy, crazy trial, and I'm very interested in it. I don't know where it's going to go from here, but she's a great guest, very knowledgeable about what's going on. So we'll get to that in just a little bit. Besides that, just want to start off by talking about a story that I saw yesterday, and it's just a crazy headline. It's Kevin from The Office has called for the President of Moldova to be overthrown. Have you guys seen any of this?
No.
Nah, lakes me. All right, so you're familiar with The Office, right, Arian?
I've actually never watched it, and I need to.
I think that would be a good piece of pop culture for you to consume. You'd understand all the GIFs online more.
Are you a sitcom guy?
Sitcom guy. It depends on not necessarily. No, like the early joints, like Family Matters, Martin, Friends, like the early joints. But like nowadays, not really. No.
The Office is really good.
I think Arian would. I think most people would like The Office. I just don't.
No, I think I would too. I absolutely think I would. I love Steve Carell. Is one of my favorite humans in general. I love him, and I like a lot of the work he does. The dry humor. It's my vibe.
Yeah.
I've seen clips, and I've seen like little, little excerpts and stuff like that. And I've liked them all. It's just I've never gotten around to actually doing it.
He was born to play that character.
Yeah, this is him at his best.
Okay, I'm in.
I think you'll like it. So Kevin from The Office, Brian Baumgartner, he's actually a friend. We've had him on Part of My Take a few times. I've hung out with him at a golf tournament. I hung out with him at a couple of Super Bowls, I think. I like the guy. He's a cool guy. He is a Cameo legend. Mm-hmm. I think he's always like in the top 3, top 5 of celebrities on Cameo that are sending out videos. But he's found himself in the middle of this thing because of Cameo. So there's been a big, big Russian disinformation campaign going on in Moldova. They're having elections. They're doing referendums to see whether Moldova should join the European Union. And Moldova is like really close to Ukraine. It's really close to Russia. And Russia does not want this tiny little country, Moldova, to join the EU. So they've bought like millions of dollars of Facebook ads. They've been just paying people to post things about Moldova and about their current president. And Kevin from The Office found himself caught up in it because somebody paid him for a cameo that said that they should overthrow the president of Moldova. Huh. And he read it and he said it. And people were like, wait, that's kind of weird. Why did Kevin from The Office say this? Why does he care about Moldova? And so they looked into it. And yeah, it's this giant Russian disinformation factory. Basically, the 2024 equivalent of the Internet Research Council, which was like a big thing in the mid-2010s. But I don't know if he's going to get in any trouble. I don't know if he's going to be like called to testify about anything or questioned by the FBI or CIA. It's just funny that Kevin is like, he said, I think we Hollywood stars support the people of Moldova in their desire to overthrow you, Sandu. So why? I just got to say, Kevin, you should read the cameo requests before you actually say the words on the screen. I guess if you're doing that much, if you're doing like rapid fire cameos, you probably just start reading the text. You've got 2 screens set up, one that has the request on it and the other is your phone that you're capturing it on. My big question is, do you think that Frank the Tank?
I was just fixing to say Frank would do it.
I bet you at some point Frank has been like, what's this guy's name? Sandu? Maya Sandu. Maya Sandu's incompetent. I bet you he's said those words before. And if they haven't gotten him to do it, then you're not doing a very good job, Russia. So you need to step it up. So just be careful. Arian, I don't think you're on Cameo, right?
No, they asked me. I have a screenshot. They asked me to. I told them I wasn't famous enough. It's all good.
That's not true.
What do you think's a fair price for an Arian cameo?
Don't be a dick and holler at me in the DM.
I was gonna say you do the fantasy football shit for free, so
I fuck with bro. I fuck with people who fuck with me. Like in the DMs, every now and then I used to talk shit to people who talk shit to me, right? You know what I'm saying? I'm human. You know what I'm saying? You pop at me, I pop back. You know, I ain't gonna lose no sleep over it though. But like for years, ever since I was in the league, like people reach out. I do dope shit for people all the time. Like, and we just get. I've always appreciated fandom that people are fans of me as a human. So I'm not super into like I don't need to make money. You don't got to say like I've sent videos to people I don't know before all the time. Like, it's all good. I'm a fan of fans. See if I can find that DM. There it goes. Look.
Yeah, I feel
There you
like doing cameo would be like I love the people that are like listeners that are fans of a show that I'm on or whatever, but I feel like doing cameos would like cheapen that interaction a little bit, you know? Where I'm only
Not
saying
genuine.
hi to you because you paid me money to do it.
Yeah, it's not genuine. Like my DMs is open. If you cool, I usually interact. I can't get to everybody, but I usually be interacting with people. It's a cool outlet, man. You get to meet strangers. A lot of dope interactions has happened via Twitter or Instagram DMs. I've met some dope people. I've had random meals with people. Yo, I'm in the city, pull up. I've had golf outings. Dope shit has happened. Dope shit has happened.
Yeah. People are generally good.
I don't agree with that, but people can be good.
You think more people are bad than good?
Yeah, I'm a pessimist, dog.
I disagree. I think more people are good than bad. I'm pro
I
people.
think that I'm pro people too. I just think people are shit.
Big T, what about you?
I think
Come to
people
my side.
are
Yeah.
mostly
Uh,
good
off.
when in the right set of circumstances. But there are also, I don't know, it's probably 50-50.
I think people want to be good, but you give them the smallest reason to not be good anymore, and they're like, yeah, I'll go to the dark side.
Yeah, but that reason could be like an opportunity to better themselves, and then they turn to shit. That's my thing. Is like, yeah, I think they may be good, but like given the opportunity to be a piece of shit, most people would be.
What about you, Mad Dog McKenzie?
Oh, I think people are good overall.
Yeah, I'd like to think people are.
I hate thinking people are mean because I'm like, maybe I just have a skewed perception of them of like how they've treated me in the past. Because I'm like, if they have friends, someone thinks that they're nice. Like, it's just not me. So I like to think people are good.
I think if you're nice to everybody, you're going to have a lot of people that are nice to you.
Yes.
You're going to have some assholes, some people that for whatever reason just don't want to engage with you that way, but I think that you get back what you put out there.
Yeah,
Law
treat
of attraction.
others the way
Yeah.
you want to be treated.
Right.
I've met
Golden rule.
genuine people who like when you meet them, you're like, yo, if you have a problem with this person, it's 1,000% you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've met those kind of people. I am not one of those people. I'm people like I will give you everything you give back to me. Like if you nice as shit, if you cool as fuck, man, that's exactly what. If you an asshole, I can get that shit right back to you.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a me thing, but that's just how I feel. I give you what you give me.
Your mirror.
Yeah.
Some would say.
Arian, I want to follow up with you on the balloon festival that you went to, where you didn't see a balloon.
Where I didn't go to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk
Well,
about it.
it's so I did a little bit of reading about it. There were a fuckload of balloons. How did you not see a single balloon at the Albuquerque Balloon Festival? There were like 600 balloons that were in the air at the same time.
Yeah, no. So it is the biggest balloon fest in the world, which is why, my whole goal and the reason we going was like I grew up there and I never went to a balloon fest except for one time, but I had to work it with my friend. So I never got to like enjoy the experience of going to the balloon fest. So I went back as an adult. I'm gonna enjoy this shit. And when I went back, I got up with a buddy. He's been a buddy of mine since I was 7 years old. I've known this man since I was 7 years old. And it's just one of my best friends, like, in the world. Like, I just love him to death, his family, everybody. And we got up. We went to this place called Sawmill. And it's this beautiful outdoor place that has, like, this little it's nice little seating area outdoors, and a whole bunch of like different shops and restaurants inside. Really beautiful place. And they had this joint where they had this beer thing where they had like hundreds of different beers, right, that you can try. And day one, we pulled up there and had a great time. And next thing I know, it's 4:30 and we at the casino. And I couldn't make it. And so I went to sleep. And so by the time I'm up the next day, all the balloons is in the air and they gone. You know what I mean? So, and then the next day we happen to do that same shit. Go get some drinks, have a good time. I end up back at the casino. And
Right.
I just how it went
Right,
to
but
the entirety of that.
You were outside drinking beer, and there's hundreds of hot air balloons that are floating above you, and you
They don't float forever. It's maybe an hour or so when they take off.
Okay.
Hour or two, something like that. By the time I'm up, which is like 2-3 p.m., there's no balloons in there anymore.
There was just I read that there were hundreds of balloons. I was like, how did you not see a single one? There were also three balloon crashes. They got to chill out with this balloon festival. I told you the story about my experience with a balloon company that ended up being like a disaster later on. There were 3 hot air balloon crashes this year at the Albuquerque Balloon Festival.
What?
Yeah, there was a balloon hit like a power line, which is like
they hit them a lot.
That's like the most dangerous thing ever. You're floating in the air, hundreds, sometimes over 1,000 feet above the earth, and you hit a power line, and you're sitting in a basket with like 6 giant tanks of gas, flammable gas, and an open flame.
Yeah, it's not for me. I'll never do it, but they're so beautiful when they take off. It's amazing. I'll never do it.
I'm anti-balloon. I want to tell everybody out there, be safe. Don't get into a hot air balloon. There are 3 one person hit a power line, one person landed in a tree, and then another knocked over a giant radio tower. I saw the video of that. It was like a 200-foot radio tower, and the balloon knocked it over, and the balloon was able to somehow land safely. But this huge fucking tower fell over, and it's the second time somebody's hit that.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Like I said, that shit is not for me, dog. I will never get no hot air balloon, but it's a beautiful experience, I'm told.
I'm not well versed in hot air balloons. Is someone driving them? How do they?
You can't steer. That's the thing. Like, there's no positive controls on a hot air balloon. You go up.
The Lord is driving you, big T.
You can control your altitude, right, based on how much burnt gas you send up into the fucking balloon. They call it a canopy, but let's get real. It's a balloon. So the balloon part of it, you light the gas on fire, and it shoots this flame up, and then the gas goes up, and the hot air goes into the balloon. And if you put more hot air into it, it goes higher. If you
heat rises,
yeah. If you stop using the burner, it starts to descend. But you can't steer it left or right. You just go where the wind is taking you.
That seems mildly insane.
Talk about Jesus take the wheel.
It seems to me like the city of Albuquerque is like gambling with massive disasters every single year.
But when you go there, you kind of understand why. Where they have it, outside of that range, it's the plain is it's very open and barren. It's very barren, and so that's why 600 balloons and 3 crashes. You know, that's bad. But like,
yeah,
over the course of years of that annual festival, like, I mean, that's why people keep coming back. It's a very open place to do it. Again, I will never get in a fucking hot air balloon ever in my life. You can't pay me enough money to do that shit.
Imagine if there was an air show and 3 planes crashed. They're like, all right, we'll see you next year. That's just kind of how it's going to go.
600 planes, you'd be like, yeah, maybe it was a pilot error.
It might not have even been that many. I know it was definitely more than 100. The guy that puts it on, I saw an interview with him. He was doing like an interview on the news, and it's this guy wearing this jacket, and he looks like a clown. He's got like 200 balloon pins on his multicolored jacket, and then the hat that he's wearing is a giant balloon that like goes above his head. And they're like, yeah, we have to break into this interview real quick and talk about it seems that there's been an accident. A balloon has struck a power line, and we're going to see if everybody is okay. We've got emergency crews on the scene. And then they cut back to the guy doing the interview in his giant balloon hat. He's like, yeah, this is the risk that you take when you get into ballooning. It's a beautiful hobby, but it can be a little bit dangerous. He got like real somber in his fucking balloon hat. They need to shut that thing down.
Live on the wild side. No, calm down, bro.
I'm anti-balloon. I'm willing to say it.
It's because you had a bad experience, and you didn't have a bad experience. You landed safely.
I did have.
I
did have
he
a bad
died
experience.
years later, but that had nothing to do with
No,
you.
I told you when I was up in the balloon, the guy steered us into not steer because you can't steer a balloon. That's the problem. We went through a tree. We hit like the branches of a tree with a basket, and he was like laughing. He's like, haha, little tree topping. That's what we say in the biz.
That's fire, though.
Yeah.
Look at Eric. This is America, Jack. And we should be able to put hot air in a canopy and let the Lord steer us wherever we want. That's our right as Americans.
I would agree if that's your personal choice. I would also say that you shouldn't have a balloon festival where you have hundreds of these things up in the air. And well, here's the fucked up part about balloons, Arian, is you can't steer them. So when you land, you just land in somebody else's backyard. And they don't give you consent or permission to land your balloon in there. You're landing on somebody else's private property, and then you have to go up to them and be like, "Hey, is it cool if we landed our balloon here already?"
It's easier to ask for forgiveness and permission.
You're getting real Karen-esque over there, man. You're getting old, bro.
I'm anti-balloon.
Where's that horse shit eating PFT? Where is he?
I can't believe you did that. Did you see there was a Florida State fan who he did eat dog shit. He reversed the curse.
Yeah.
So now maybe we'll see if they play Miami this week. So if they win that one, maybe the curse is done.
I feel like you have to eat a lot of dog shit before that game, specifically for that game.
I mean, someone ate it, so maybe that absolves 3-2-1 Noel of his responsibility. I don't know.
It doesn't. It makes him look like even more of a coward. You're making other people have to step up.
Yeah,
for you.
no, bad guy. Listen,
Very bad.
Has he reinstated his socials?
No, he's off the map.
Damn. He got bullied off the internet.
So someone else took up his mantle and ate the dog shit.
Damn.
That guy, he's not totally offline. That dude definitely started up a new
Yeah,
account.
that was probably his burner.
Yeah, I'm sure.
He started a new account.
But we can't find him in the sense that we would like. It's a shame.
There's big news that happened this morning. Big news. And I want to hear Mad Dog's take on it. Are you back in on the Cleveland Browns now that we got Jameis starting and Deshaun Achilles? Did you cheer or did you boo?
I'm going to be honest. I wasn't watching the game. I haven't watched a game in like 4 weeks because why would I subject myself to that? My take on it is I said, karma's a bitch. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. So there was a lot of people that got upset for a couple different reasons after the Deshaun injury. So
the discourse is
bad.
Rough.
It was tough because everyone's mad at everyone else. So Deshaun ruptured his Achilles during the game. It was pretty clear right off the bat that it was an Achilles.
It does help in my brain that it was like a non-contact injury for some reason.
Okay. Why is that?
It just does. I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
Those are worse.
No, like I'm just saying like, interesting. Your body has turned against you.
Got it. So he ruptures his Achilles. He gets carted off the field.
Yeah.
He's very upset. The Cleveland Browns fans are cheering when he gets taken off the field. And then after the game, you had you had Jameis and you had Myles Garrett. Basically saying like, that's fucked up that you did that to one of our players.
He's been a stand-up guy most of his career.
Yeah, so that was dumb.
Look.
So wild thing to say.
That was a very dumb thing for Myles Garrett to say. But my take on it was that I understood. I did actually understand both sides. Where if you're a fan of the Cleveland Browns, you probably hate Deshaun. You're like, why is this guy representing our team?
Yeah.
And so I understand that you're glad that he's not your quarterback anymore. I also understand from the perspective of being a player on the Browns and seeing your own fans cheering on an injury of one of the guys that you work with every day, one of the guys that you practice with. Mm-hmm. And also that in the back of your head, every time you step on a field, like you could get seriously injured too, and your career might be in jeopardy right off the bat. Then it's probably very disappointing to see your fans turn against one of your teammates like that. So I see both perspectives in a way where it's like I get both
sides of the coin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It makes sense to me.
I will say, I think that the other players on the Browns are put in a very tough spot in terms of press, especially when something like this happens, because I think it's hard to call out your quarterback. Again, I wish more or any of the players took any stand against the fact that your quarterback is a fucking alleged rapist.
Well, what can you do at that point if you're a player? You're like,
exactly.
Then because they just paid him guaranteed money, so if you speak out against him, then
you're gone.
Yeah, your career might be.
And that's a fair point.
And we've talked about it like a couple weeks ago when we said that like Kevin Stefanski was keeping him in, and we don't think it's coming from Kevin Stefanski.
No.
Like obviously Jimmy Haslam has something to do with this, and so I do think that those guys like and Miles being an apparent like leader of the team, Jameis Winston obviously being the backup quarterback in that scenario. So I think it's hard for them to be like fuck that guy. Obviously,
yeah.
I have heard from different people. No one really loves Deshaun, obviously, and the locker room isn't necessarily like weren't rallying for him before this injury. So again, I get it. Your quarterback goes down and whatever, and the cheering / like booing, whatever like situation that was, I think a lot of people online and like sports journalists were like they're upset because he wasn't a good quarterback, which is true. Deshaun Watson was the worst quarterback.
He started showing a lot of progress.
Arian, we
like
haven't scored
couple games.
We haven't scored 20 points in a game yet.
No, I'm just saying the last 2 games, or like 2 or 3 games. Was it 2? It might have been only 2. He started playing well.
But I still don't think that negates everything else. And I also think we suck ass so badly. But
no, I'm not finna defend. I'm not finna defend.
No. I know you're not.
I don't never know what's going on in them rooms,
right?
And it is unfair.
And
you make a great point.
You obviously have like more of an insight on like how NFL locker rooms look, but I think that like Browns fans are upset about the level of play that is going on right now. They're upset that this is the guy that's leading our team who is just the worst. Like it's such a shit pie. Like there's literally no upside to anything right now.
Yeah.
It's a tough situation for you to be in as a player, because you have to, when you in it, you have to have some kind of like team morale, and downing one of the guys who the fans view as like morally abhorrent. It puts you in a tough position because like I still got to work with him. I still got to sweat with him, bleed with him, and it just puts you in a really tough position. Because if you're critical of him off the field, but you got to play with him off the field, that creates a divide in the team, and so it's not a good situation all around.
And
which is interesting that they even gave him what they gave him.
Well,
and not they gave up a shitload for the trade too. They traded away all these draft picks, and then they gave him a fully guaranteed contract. I think. Jimmy Haslam, is there a way to fire an owner? I mean, I just went through it with Dan Snyder, and we've had some other examples in the past. Like the league basically made Jerry Richardson sell his team too for the Panthers. Jimmy Haslam, and I actually think it's more likely that Jimmy Haslam could sell the team than a lot of people think.
Yeah, I do too.
Not because of the way that he's mismanaged the organization, which he has. Mm-hmm. Not because of the fact that he gave this contract to somebody that was accused of 26 counts of
and settled with all of them
sexual assault.
Yeah.
That's not going to have anything to do with it. The fact that he gave him guaranteed money, a fully guaranteed contract, that is going to piss off the other owners more than anything, because they're like, wait a second, you did something that we've all kind of agreed behind the scenes not to ever do. The thing that the NFL owners love about the system they have in place, the thing they fight with the NFLPA about year in and year out, is that they don't want to guarantee all this money like basketball or like baseball. So the fact that Jimmy gave a fully guaranteed contract
to Deshaun Watson of all people,
all the other owners are going to be like, you're a son of a bitch because now the players are going to be asking us
For
for
guaranteed
guaranteed contracts, and the
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
precedent
fuck them
has
for
been
that.
set.
Right. I think it's a really impossible situation for the fans, the players, Kevin Stefanski. Like I think Jimmy Haslam has like really put everyone in a really uncomfortable situation. And our friend who's a producer here, Kevin Zuppi, who is a huge Cleveland sports fan as well, it's tweeted something about this like after Deshaun went down on Sunday, and it was like, what a terrible thing to look back on and say, because someone tweeted basically the stats of Deshaun, knowing that this is most likely the last snap he'll take for the Browns. Like he played in 19 games total.
You know what his record was, by the way?
I think it was like what, like
No. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say 6-13.
It was 9-10.
Okay,
I didn't realize that.
but
Kind of crazy.
either way, I don't think 9-10 deserves $230 million.
No.
And Zuppi said something to the effect of like, it's so sad that we were on such a precipice of something so great. The organization was finally, you felt like things were turning, and Deshaun has literally taken the actions that he's done and the things that he has done to the financials of that team have taken every ounce of air out of that room, and you feel like you're back at like square zero.
Yeah.
And so I'm really just, it's not fun. I don't know anyone in Cleveland right now who like my family, my friends, whoever, who are like still super locked into this season. Cause it's like, what's the point? And like, obviously the Guardians had everyone was more focused on the Guardians for the past 6-8 weeks.
Yeah, the distraction is gone now.
Exactly. So then it was like Saturday night you get beaten by the Yankees to go to the World Series. Then Sunday this happens, and it's like, oh my God. I do think that Miles and Jameis maybe didn't say the exact right words. But again, like whatever. I'm not exact. Like I get it. I guess not really. But like Miles saying he's been a stand-up guy for most of his career. You just like didn't have to say that. And like I get that the allegations only came out, whatever it was, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever it was. So he actually has been a bad guy the whole time. If he's been touching people and it only came out in 2020, unfortunately, Miles, he's been a bad guy the whole time. And also, like, a lot of guys in the NFL do really bad things. And it's really annoying that, like, they're yelling at the fans of, like, how dare you have an opinion on this man on the field or off the field? He's not performing well on the field, and he's actually the worst person off the field as well. And, like, it makes me upset that, like, they're like, I can't believe you guys won't stand up for this. I don't want this to be what my team is. I want, like, Joe Flacco was amazing. Like, I wish, like, and that's so that your original question with the whole, like, how do you feel about Jameis? I don't even care if we win a ton of games. The season's cooked, in my opinion. I'm happy that, like, and again, Jameis is not a perfect person. I'm happy that there's someone.
Pretty close, though.
I'm happy there's someone at the helm who I feel has life in him and, like, leadership tendencies. And, like, again, the eating the W thing. I know Jameis is, like, fun personality. Like, I am happy to have someone that's at least breathing some form of life into this team, because it's not even that Deshaun was a really bad guy and a really bad quarterback. It's also that there was zero evidence to look to prove that he was even a good leader. Like, and that's what also is so annoying. It's like Joe Flacco, you could tell, immediately came into this team and, like, lifted them up. Jameis Winston in the preseason games was, like, lifting these guys up. I have seen nothing from Deshaun Watson to prove that he does that. And again, I'm not saying he doesn't, but I'm not giving him the benefit of the doubt on it.
The team had absolutely zero fun. And
Zero.
And then the fans had zero fun.
Zero fun. And I think if at least we can, like, be, I think Big Cat put us on his tier thing as frisky if Jameis plays. Like, if we can just be frisky, win a couple games, have at least something I can laugh at, like, bring the joy back to this fucking team. Like, I'm so
You're hurt
tired.
right now.
It's really like Deshaun Watson has like, and again, I've talked about him before this season. I have not supported him at all. There has never been a time where I have been like, oh, but at least he's no. I have never, and most girls I know, pretty much every girl I know who is also a Browns fan is the same way. It's like, why would
girls I know?
Why would I care what this fucker's doing? Like, yeah. And I'm also kind of just annoyed by the whole, like, I'm lifting this man up, like he, you know, blah, blah, blah. It's like, and again,
You can't be mad at that though.
I can't.
You can't. I understand the frustration because I heard the comment. I'm like, you can't say that, bro.
No.
But you can't putting them players in that position.
No.
Because if you've ever played a sport at that level,
I get it.
and where you're just so involved in the trenches, and it's like they're your brothers, and all of the shit that they do off the field, it's one, is none of your business. Two, it's not up for you to adjudicate it.
Right.
But and three, it's just like to have them in that position in general. It's like, okay, they talking about my brother, and then the other variable to that is, like knowing and seeing. I've seen fans boo or cheer when people get hurt. I've seen fans boo players, and I see fans, like I remember when Shaw, my quarterback, for here, he was struggling, and people showed up to his house. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got a family.
Yeah.
People was doing it. This is part of, it's part of sports. This, not that part, but this part is part of sports. They had he had thrown 3 pick sixes. And so there was restaurants that would say yo, order the Matt Shaw burger. You can pick 6 ingredients, which is, it's funny, but it's you saw what it did to his mental. You saw what it did to his psyche. You saw what it did. And that in turn, how it changed how he did to his family. And again, I'm not defending Deshaun Watson or his actions. I'll never do that. But when you in the trenches with somebody, it's easy to see how a Jameis Winston's rhetoric can come about, because it's like, dog, I see how this is affecting him as a man.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But
and that's what he's defending. That's what I see him defending more so than anything. He's not defending the actions of.
Right.
And that split will forever be a split with fandom and players, because you can't see it from two.
No.
Each other can't see each other's sides.
And
with a former athlete, I have the privilege.
And I'm lucky that I have that I know you, and I hear it from your side as well, and I do see that. I'm also just continually upset that fucking nothing happened to Deshaun. It's just so frustrating that all of this happened, and
then he got $200 million.
Yeah, and he got suspended. What, 13 games? What? Yeah. That's what's the most frustrating to me. Not even as a Browns fan, as just a woman who watches sports. It's it makes my blood boil that no one is saying anything about it, and that
let us pray, Maddie.
Yeah,
me
my thoughts and prayers. But it's
Matthew 7:1 tells us
that's
judge not lest ye be judged.
But it's just so frustrating that people are being why would you do this to Deshaun? I'm still reeling over the fact that has all of these allegations, and the NFL is never going to punish him over it. That's what's so frustrating to me. And then the fact that I'm supposed to give him some level of respect because he got hurt. I'm sorry. I
don't think
I'm
you're in the minority in feeling like that.
No. Yeah. And so again, sorry I got on a soapbox there.
Nah, you're hurt, bro.
It's okay. It's so frustrating, and I love the Browns. I grew up with them. My parents were season ticket holders. I care about that team. It's really, really frustrating to see them this season, and how fucking miserable they are.
Yeah.
It's a miserable experience.
Yeah, and it shows a level of disdain that the owner of the team has for the fan base too, where he's just fuck them.
Right. And it's you're not doing, what are you doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? And it's if I can eat a couple W's with Jameis and laugh and whatever, I'll call that a success, I guess. If we can squeeze out 5-12 at this point,
If it's any consolation, Jimmy Haslam's other football team is in a good spot.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
He's doing okay.
Exactly. I honestly don't know if he will sell it anytime soon. He also owns the Columbus Crew, which is like the MSL team, or MLS, sorry, MLS team. He has kind of like a sports group in Ohio. So again,
I have a prediction.
Yeah.
I think somehow the NFL owners are going to magically have a problem with Jimmy Haslam's business practices. Is that
something that happens?
I think they're going to be like, we need to take a closer look at the Pilot Flying J trucker rebate scandal that the FBI investigated.
Great business.
Haslam was investigated back, when was that, like late 2000s? Mid 2000s?
I think it was around
recently.
when he bought the Browns.
So he bought the Browns in what, 2012?
Yeah, like 12 or 13.
I don't know when it started, but the trial was pretty recent.
Oh, was it?
Right?
So, well, no, because I think he settled with the Department of Justice. I think he paid like a few $1 million in fines, which is is that not the same thing as bribery? I've wondered about that. Like when the feds investigate you for something, and then instead of giving you an actual criminal punishment, they're like, your punishment is going to be a $5 million fine payable to us. It's just basically like paying money to get out of committing a crime. But what he would do was his company
did that in Mexico once.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For what?
One of the homies had some weed on him, and they arrested him, and this nigga said, you can't do this. I know my rights. It's like, you actually don't down here. You should probably shut up, bro. And so one of the other homies spoke Spanish, and he pulled him to the side. It was like, he was talking that guala back and forth, and we convinced them to pay, I think it was like $200, $300 to let him off. Because don't nobody want to go to jail in Mexico.
Yeah, that's a good deal.
Yeah, that's a really good deal, I think.
I wasn't mad at it, man.
So the Pilot Flying J scandal was it was a gas station chain, and they made deals with trucking companies. If you are like an exclusive purchaser of our fuel, we will give you rebates once you hit certain thresholds over the course of years. So if you spend $100,000 on fuel at our gas stations, we will give you, I'm just pulling these numbers out of my ass, a 10% discount. You'll get $10,000 back. And then they just kind of withheld all those rebates and never actually paid the rebates back to truckers, independent operators, and things like that. And it was like a massive scandal. I have a feeling that the owners might have to take like a closer look at some of those business practices, just because they gave, well, number one, the Browns, what he's done is he's alienated the entire fan base. So they're not generating as much revenue. And then two, the fact that he set a new market by giving a fully guaranteed $100+ million contract.
So let me ask a question, because I don't obviously know everything about like the NFL owner background. Is that kind of what they did with Dan Snyder? Is that they were like, wait, let's look into you more?
There was a little bit. Yeah, it was a lot of contributing things. I mean, the fact that he ruined the franchise and just had that same outward disdain for his fan base. That was very similar with Dan Snyder. But what they ended up doing was there were all these reports of sexual harassment. There were lots of investigations.
Oh, right. Yeah.
He was not being forthcoming with the NFL about doing interviews. He was interfering with witnesses.
Right.
And then there was the accusation that he was withholding money from the other owners by creating like two separate spreadsheets of income from the team. And then because every team is obligated to share some of their revenue with the other owners. And then they split that up into 32 different pieces of the pie.
Oh, okay.
And share that out.
Okay.
Snyder was not being forthcoming with, in fact, he was, I don't know if it's like played out in court, but he was allegedly withholding some money from the other owners by putting it into a separate pile.
Mm-hmm.
And so then there was that investigation, and he was losing sponsorships, and then the NFL basically said, you're going to sell the team.
Okay. But do you think, again...
When I say the NFL, I don't mean like Roger Goodell.
Yeah, you mean
that.
like the owners,
the collective. When we say the NFL, by the way, the NFL is not Roger Goodell. The NFL is the group of 32 owners. Yeah. And so they started to turn against Dan Snyder. He lost all his friends.
Okay.
Jim Irsay called his character into question, which was a great moment. He was sitting in a golf cart smoking a cigarette, being like, yeah, we should look into this guy, which is why I ended up buying Colts season tickets, because I'm like, thank you, whatever it takes to get this guy out. So the other owners started to turn against him, and they could enact a vote where it's like, I forget if it's 2/3 of the owners vote you out. I forget what the threshold is, but the other owners can vote out one of the owners. They hardly ever do that because they don't want their own skeletons to get dragged up and used as reason for them to sell the teams.
Okay.
So, but when you start fucking with their money, then they will turn up the pressure on you, and then they can get together and say, this person's not paying us as much money as he has to. So we're going to talk to him and make it very clear to him that he needs to sell the team, or else we will vote him out.
Okay. Also, I have questions about that. Also, it has been announced that Kevin Stefanski will give play calling up to Ken Dorsey.
Okay.
So whatever that.
I think Stefanski's a good head coach.
I do too. That's what is also upsetting is like, I don't think it's Stefanski's problem. But anyways, back to But like, okay, the Haslam thing though, I don't know enough about like NFL ownership, but like, and I get it. He has run this team a bit into the ground recently, but like, is that all it takes for them to be like, you're down here? But then it's also like, can they physically force him to? If Dan Snyder had that as like a ground level, and then had like 10 stories on top of that, like, I hope to God there are not other like Dan Snyder-esque accusations going on in the Browns facility.
Well, honestly, they don't give a shit about anything else. They might say that they care about other things, and they're like, we need to make sure that the brand of the NFL is strong, and we can't have owners committing sexual improprieties and things like that.
Would that be Deshaun technically?
No.
Oh.
They will say all that stuff, but in reality, what gets these guys to act is if somebody starts
taking their money,
fucking their money over. And so Haslam, by giving Deshaun the guaranteed contract, set such a bad precedent that the other owners are furious at him. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but I'm saying that would be the reason.
That's grounds for removal.
Secretly grounds for removal, where the other owners are like, we don't like what this guy did because it might end up costing us a lot of money in the future.
Okay.
And that's why they would get together. Then they'd pretend to care about some moral stuff, or like what he's doing to the fan base.
Right, because I mean, obviously they don't give a fuck about the moral stuff.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, they will say that they care about that as part of the reason why.
Yeah.
But again, I have no information to know that he's going to sell. But I mean, don't.
Neither do I.
I think he would probably be the next one up if they're looking at cleaning house. I feel like it's gone so poorly for him.
Yeah. That
he might be the next guy up.
And I feel like Deshaun is like the linchpin of all of that.
Yeah. Like
1,000% actually.
With the Panthers, like the Bryce Young draft, it was a bad draft pick, whatever.
But like there are bad draft picks all the
their
time.
owner, threw his drink on some fans. He's just a dickhead.
What's his name?
David Tepper.
Okay.
But that's not reason for. They're not going to do anything about him.
Yeah, because it's not impacting their bottom line.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really it's like a frustrating spot to be in, and it's like it's also frustrating because the past like 4 years or 4 seasons, you felt like we were on an upward trend. Yeah, kind of, but like then it wasn't Banker. And then it felt like it was other people that were like involved in the upward trend, and it's all nothing now.
Yep. Well, at least it's a little bit better right now
with Jameis.
At least you're gonna have some level of joy, maybe.
Yeah, I think he's good for morale, I guess. I do think that Deshaun will never play for the Browns again, though. Like I think he's done with all of that, because I mean that's at least a year, right?
Yeah, it's a bad injury.
Yeah, and so I think maybe our days of having Deshaun Watson over quarterback.
He can come back next year.
But Arian, I don't think he's going to be rushing to get back to the field to finish out his contract. I mean, he barely played last season with his shoulder, and that wasn't nearly as serious as a ruptured Achilles.
You can be as technology advances, you can, especially as a quarterback, He'll be fine.
Well, not Peyton Manning.
Aaron Rodgers.
I popped my
Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins.
Achilles and played the next year.
Yeah, but I don't see him playing for the Browns again.
Yeah, I think he's.
Could be.
I think he'll go play for another team. I guess whoever wants to take that, be my goddamn guest.
Because if he rehabs, it's basically like a year-long recovery from the Achilles.
Mm-hmm. So that puts you at week 8 next
He wouldn't
year.
be like the starter going into next season. He would
Yeah.
still be injured. Then he'd have to like work his way back onto the field. The offense would already have they're going to make a plan. They have to make a plan at quarterback for this offseason.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to have Shadur Sanders as my freaking quarterback next year.
You think that's on the list of cities that Deion will approve? You think Cleveland's one of them?
No.
He wants him going to a
Probably
stable organization?
Oh, right. I forgot about that whole thing. Okay, yeah, maybe not us then.
Yeah, Deion said he said there was like a handful of cities that he was looking at.
Yeah, I do not think Cleveland falls upon that list for a lot of different reasons.
That also might just be a power play for Deion to say that and then have people think that Deion is controlling it. That way, if like there might be one team that he really doesn't want him to play for.
It might be Cleveland.
like the Mannings when
Yeah, I was going to say, what if he just pulls like an Eli Manning?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I don't know. Because is Jameis on a 1 year?
I'm not sure what his contract is. A 1 year would make sense.
Right?
Maybe a 2 year.
But yeah, 1 year, $4 million.
Well, I'm glad we hashed that out.
I'm sorry that I like got on this fucking soapbox. It's just it's just really frustrating.
With Deshaun, it's very black and white because there's only two ways to look at Deshaun Watson. Either number one, he is the victim of the most vicious, coordinated public image smear campaign,
Right.
maybe in the history of the world. Or he is a world-class pervert and a predator. That's really the only two options that you have.
Yeah, and you are subject to take all of that in. And then like as a Browns fan, then you have to like not only root for this terrible team, but then like your moral compass gets so skewed.
Yeah, you have to be like, well, maybe they're all lying.
Yeah.
Go Browns.
And like I've never been like I've the whole time have been like, fuck this guy. Like I hope for not like I hope he gets justice.
Yeah, you love the team and you root for the team, and then you're like, wait, but rooting for the team is also rooting for this guy.
Yeah. And
so you're forcing me to not root for the team anymore.
Yeah, totally.
Fuck you, Jimmy Haslam.
It has come it has come to the point where it's like I don't care to watch Deshaun Watson play football, and if that means I don't watch the Browns, that's what it means. Like I don't. If me not watching the game is the biggest fucking punishment that Deshaun Watson is gonna get for all of his crimes, then like whatever.
Yeah, basically every.
What do you want to have done to him?
I want him to like have a trial against. Well, I guess now he won't because they're all settled. But like, I want him to get suspended by that. I want the NFL to fucking do something. I want them to look into the fact that he is allegedly raping these people and like get him out of the league.
Is he accused of rape or is he accused of sexual
assault?
I believe there were also rape accusations that recently.
There were rape accusations? I don't know enough about it.
I want them, and again, this isn't just a Deshaun problem. This is an fucking NFL problem where they just like.
It's not an NFL problem. It's a United States of America problem.
That's even better. It's an everyone problem. Like, I want them to fucking set some fucking precedent. Like, it's so frustrating. And that is whatever. Like, it will never happen because the NFL doesn't care. And, yeah. Just like they don't care. Okay, I need to stop.
Just about every Browns fan that I know has either felt like Mad Dog or, at the very least, just been like, I hate this. I'm going to root for my team, but I'm not going to root for Deshaun.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to take any joy in him being a quarterback, but I still want the team to do good.
Yeah. Because when the Browns are fun, Cleveland is so fun. Like, Cleveland is a great place. Like, Cleveland is a great place. I know I have my qualms about it. Cleveland is a great place when the Browns are doing well.
Hey, look, I love you, Betty. Well, you don't stop selling Cleveland as a fun place.
No, I've seen the commercials for Ohio. You go there.
Yeah, you go there
like,
and you get married.
We're married now.
You go there and you find a husband.
I will not be gaslit.
No, Mad Dog, that's not. You're misrepresenting the commercial. The man moved to Ohio.
Oh, right. And he found a wife.
And then he found a wife.
Right.
The wife, she had grown up in Ohio.
Right. And they get married at the state park. They get married in Hocking Hills.
I'm sure there's beautiful people.
There are
in Cleveland. I'm
lovely.
sure you guys have great traditions.
Yep.
I'm sure there's some food places that it's cracking.
Good ones.
But Cleveland is not a good place, bro. Stop.
I've got one other sports question that's directly relevant to somebody on this podcast. But before we get to that, it's going to be brought to you. This is appropriate by Blue Chew. You can have better sex with Blue Chew. Blue Chew is the original brand offering chewable tablets. These erection.
I want to try some.
Yeah, get Arian some Blue Chew.
Send it my way.
And
We'll send you some.
we need a report, an after report, Arian.
I got you.
Erection enhancing tablets.
How long does stiffy last?
Hard as a rock. Keep that boner high and tight with Blue Chew, Arian. Not like a loaf of bread. Not with this droopy penis you got. You get harder, longer lasting erections for sexual activities. It's all done from the comfort of home. With Blue Chew, you can say goodbye to performance anxiety and hello to stronger, longer lasting erections. These chewable tablets have the same active ingredients you'd find in Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but they're in a chewable form and they're a fraction of the cost. Blue Chew is all about having confidence when it comes time to perform, and it's about having happy and healthy relationships. Blue Chew subscriptions include a free online consultation, 24/7 medical support, delivery straight to your door every month. Chew it and do it. If you want more confidence in the bedroom, use code MACRO. Get your first month free. First month free with code MACRO at BlueChew.com. Check them out. Thank you to Blue Chew for sponsoring the pod. We appreciate it. And Arian is going to enjoy some Blue Chew. And I'm looking forward to it. Want all the fellas to have stronger, harder, longer lasting erections for sexual activities. And with Blue Chew, you get just that. All right, so there's another big sports story out there involving Arian Foster's beloved Los Angeles Lakers. Last night we saw a first in NBA history.
Gorgeous
LeBron
moment.
James and Bronny James Jr. Took the court at the same time at the end of the first half. They got in. There were pictures taken. There was a moment after the game. LeBron met with Savannah. They had a nice little moment. I don't know if you call it backstage, next to the locker room, where it was a cool family moment. And everyone agrees that
that's downplaying it. It was a cool family moment.
Okay.
Are you crazy?
It's a great listen. It is an awesome, incredible, like
one of the
greatest moments of all time
ever happened
for the James family.
No, to LeBron James fans and to people who like, I don't know, cool shit. What do you mean? This is an amazing story. It sounds like you are opposed to it. State your case, guys.
I will state my case. I think it's a cool moment for sure. Like a father and a son. It's a cool family story. You dominated in the NBA for so long that eventually your son that you raised and I think he was born like right when LeBron got into the league, right? Like he's been growing up throughout your entire NBA career, which has been arguably the best NBA career of all time. And now your son is playing, wearing the same uniform as you in an NBA game. That's a beautiful, touching family moment. And I acknowledge that.
Get to it.
Can we also not have an honest conversation about the fact that Bronny is not an NBA player?
Yeah. I mean, I'm okay with that. I don't think he's up to par, especially being a Laker fan. I don't think he's going to help us win in any real way. But so, I mean, if you're looking at the bottom of any NBA team's roster, odds are they're not going to help you win a game or win games. I should say. I think he's serviceable. I don't think he's going to help you lose because I don't think he's going to get that much PT. But if you can have that, like as a Hall of Fame, one of the best players of all time, arguably in everybody's top 5 at least. Like if you can curate that happening, it's great for the league. It's great for your career. It's just great. It's a great moment for a human being and able to usher that much amount of joy for a family. That shit is just heartwarming. I don't know. It's almost shed a tear, a little thug tear. That shit is amazing, bro.
I think LeBron James deserved to have his son in the NBA. I don't know that Bronny deserved to be in the NBA. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, but you gonna call out nepotism, brother? Let's do it all the way.
I try to.
Do you?
Yeah.
All right. Well, as long as you're consistent, ain't no problem with me.
I mean, it makes sense for the Lakers to do this.
Yeah.
Because you're placating to LeBron, which is what, I mean, they've been doing for a long time, and he's still a great player. You should probably do that because your whole team's built around him. But, like, that would have been so cool if Bronny was awesome. Like, if he was the 9th overall pick and, like, it was good, then that would be one of the coolest moments ever. But it was, like, contrived, and it was done so LeBron could have it, which is great, and he's earned that.
This is how y'all feel when I talk about dogs. Okay, I understand. I get it.
LeBron earned them doing that. But it's not.
I mean,
it's not Ken Griffey Jr. playing with Ken Griffey.
If LeBron got his,
why are we doing that? Why are we sucking the joy out of this moment? This is insanity.
I'm saying
this is insane.
I'm saying it
because it was contrived.
It was a great.
So
it was
what?
a great family.
No,
moment.
I agree with you. That's great.
You couldn't contrive something like that. I couldn't contrive something like
For
that.
sure, LeBron earned the right to do that.
Man, and he did it, and it was a beautiful moment, dog. What are we saying right now? His little daughter's watching his brother and her dad on a court in an NBA game, and you sitting here and said, "But I mean, kind of just like he did it himself." What are we talking about?
They can both be true.
No, they can't. Nah, I feel like y'all are so. You on record, PFT, about being anti-Bron. So
I'm not anti-Bron.
What?
I think he's a ridiculous person sometimes, and he's very, very.
That's anti-Bron.
He's very, very funny, but I still think he's the best basketball player that's ever lived.
Okay, fine. I retract my statement. If
you know he's funny, you know he's funny, Arian.
He has some questionable moments that are hilarious. Yes. But this moment is just being a man that has played professional sports and that also has kids. Dog, I couldn't imagine the joy that would bring in my heart. Like, I'll fuck around being optimist after this. You know what I mean? If something happened like that to me, that shit is amazing, dog. It is beautiful for that family. It's beautiful for the league. It's beautiful for the game of basketball. For you to play at such a high level that it could transcend generations, so you can play with your little mans, dog. I don't need Bronny to be an all-star. I need you to check in with your dad and run up and down the court, bro. That shit is gorgeous. What are y'all talking? Y'all are smoking.
Now, if he got his dog drafted, that would be impressive.
See what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. This is what y'all feel when I talk about dogs.
LeBron,
no, they're so cute. Look at the little ears. They look at the little eyes. And fuck them dogs. This shit is gorgeous.
LeBron has a little pug checking in at half court wearing a cute little Lakers jersey. That would be adorable. Also, if he had made his shot, like his first shot, made a three and then checked out, that would have been awesome, cool. Right? That would have been incredible.
Say that one more time.
If Bronny had made his first shot and then checked out, that would have been awesome. That would have been yes, even the coldest amongst us would have gotten goosebumps from that.
If he came in and scored 8 points, I would agree with you 100%.
You know, you're the Grinch.
Well, LeBron actually had a worse plus minus than his son. Did you know that?
Basketball Grinch.
Really?
Yeah. I think Bronny was -5. LeBron might have been -6.
Y'all can't pick this part. Y'all can't pick this moment apart. Something happened.
I think
you're in the minority.
It's 1,000,000% a moment that can be picked apart.
Yeah, if you're an asshole.
But you can also say it's a cool moment for
LeBron
and his family.
Y'all some haters, dog. That's all it is. Y'all some haters.
I said LeBron earned the right to do this.
Hater.
And a great moment for the
and
it
was good of the Lakers to do it for him.
But
the but is Bronny is not very good and wouldn't be in the NBA otherwise.
Hater. Nobody's disputing that.
I don't know what you think we disagree on. It sounds like we agree on everything.
Y'all are taking away from the beautiful moment and saying, it'd be dope
the fact that he didn't earn it
Bronny
takes away from the moment.
Like, what are we talking about? You know, it didn't. If you're a hater, I looked at that moment like a pure joy for a black man and his family. And he was able to usher the success for his family.
We agree. It's awesome for his family.
Nah. We don't.
It's not awesome for everyone.
It is, bro. How? Because you ain't a Laker fan. You know what I'm saying? I'm a Laker fan. I understand how little he's going to help us win games.
So
I'm an actual Laker fan.
I am currently a Lakers fan because we have Dalton Connect. I will be watching every game.
Yeah, you're a bandwagon. You weren't there for the Smush Parker days. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not a Laker fan. I'm a Laker fan. And so it's like I understand. I had to argue with a lot of the homies who was Laker fans too, and they was like, "Yo, this is a dumbass pick." When they picked Bronny, and I'm like, "Dog, there's very rarely that a second round pick helps you win games. Most of them cats go to the G League. The majority of, I don't want to say majority, but a lot of them second round cats go to the G League. They don't. The second round is not, it's rare to find gems. And so it was never going to be a pick that was going to help us win basketball games in a very real way. It was always like you either just fill camp bodies or you just fill the roster out. And so for them to pick Bronny, I thought was a dope move because it helps team morale. It's a story that's like it only happens like, when are we gonna see this again?
Probably
We're never gonna see this again as long as I'm walking on this earth.
Yeah, probably
more
never.
than likely. It may happen, but I doubt it. And so like for this to happen is just a really dope moment. And then for you little hating ass anti-LeBron folks, it's just for what, dog? It's something in you. You need to look inside and see why you don't think this is a beautiful moment. It's on you.
I think it's a beautiful moment for the James family, for sure.
Jay-Z line. It's still rock la familia. Says a lot about you if you're not feeling us. That's what it is.
Okay.
It says more about y'all than it does about the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you can have as a Laker fan, where would you rank Bronny in all-time Lakers?
Sounds like 2.
Crazy work. I just sat here and said I don't think he's going to help us win games this year. I don't think
You
he's
sound
going
like
to.
you're anti-family now.
I think he's serviceable. I think he's going to be used in very spotty situations. Like, he's not going to get a lot of playing time. But when that man checked in with his father, what the fuck, dog? I almost cried, and I don't be crying. It was an amazing moment.
It was a good moment. It was a good moment for families.
No, basketball.
For basketball. For the game.
Great moment for basketball.
For the game of basketball.
For the game of basketball.
Why do you think it was a good moment for the game?
Because we grew up with Bronny, watching him on all these highlight tapes. Everybody's debating if he's going to be as good as his dad. The amount of pressure he has felt to even perform, even to try to walk in those footsteps of the greatest basketball player of all time is just crazy.
You know what I forgot about?
No shame, but the other GOAT's son doing cocaine, which I don't knock, but it's like it's tough living in the shadow of a giant, bro. That shit is hard.
You know what I forgot about? Hand up.
I
forgot about Bronny's medical scare that he had last year.
Yeah,
that does make it adds to the moment because like
is that a heart attack or something like it?
Yeah, it was like cardiac arrest.
Come on,
that it makes it a much more special moment for the family.
It's beautiful, dog. Your wife sitting there, your wife 20-some years, your daughter, your other son, y'all sitting in the front. No, I can't believe I have to argue this point. This is insane. Haters. There's the only other word for it. Haters. Or there's a German word for it. There's a German word for like when you get joy out of seeing somebody else's failure.
Schadenfreude.
There you go. That's what y'all are.
But this wasn't a failure.
No, this is the opposite. We're not getting as much joy as you are out of seeing someone else's success.
Yeah, we're being hated. There is a word for it. It's called hating.
No, because you deemed him not scoring 8 points as a failure, and you enjoyed.
No. No one expected him to do that.
I was saying if he had just taken one shot and the shot goes in, that would have been awesome.
This is unreal. This blows my mind.
We had Skip Bayless in the studio, and we asked him who would win one-on-one, Michael Jordan right now or Bronny. And he said Michael Jordan. I think he'd out-intangible him.
Does anyone disagree with that?
The intangibles, yeah. If you were to look at the measurements.
No, does anyone disagree? I don't know that Bronny could score a point.
On Michael right now?
Yeah.
Bloated Michael Jordan?
Yeah.
My yellow eye, jaundice.
He would roll out of bed and beat Bronny 21-0.
You're insane. This nigga has cement blocks on his feet. Now that was my GOAT. Don't get me wrong. Michael Jordan's the GOAT, but like you talking about a professional athlete. Come on, man. He wakes up in the morning and trains every day. Michael Jordan is drinking his spritzer on his yacht every day. Come on, dog. Be realistic.
Now in golf, Jordan would dust him.
I think that's probably the case.
Not even close.
Yeah.
I think what Dalton Knecht did last night was a lot more impressive. 5 points.
Yeah. He was on fire.
Had a good debut, 2 for 4. Knocked down a great 3. Nice transition layup.
Austin Reeves had
played
good
an
game
awesome
too.
game.
Yeah.
Oh man.
How long are we going to go into this show before we talk about the Democratic Senate candidate who shot a reporter? This is malpractice.
What a fucking pivot, man.
Yeah. Okay, so Big T just dropped this in the chat. I didn't see it. It was Adam Kinzinger, right? Is he a Democrat or is he an independent? I forget.
No, the guy's name is Lucas Kuntz.
Oh, that guy. Okay.
Yeah.
So explain to me what happened.
So this guy is running for Senate in Missouri against Josh Hawley, and they had an event, I guess, to show that he's like pro-gun. He's
a Marine, right?
I am not sure. That
believe
could be the case. Yes, it says he is a Marine veteran. Thank you for his service. They have
thank me for his service.
Thank him for his service.
Okay.
They are firing rifles at steel targets 15 feet away with like scopes on them. And shocker, when they shot the steel that was 5 yards away, the shrapnel fucking hit a reporter in the arm with a bullet fragment.
All right, so do we know that it's steel?
Yes.
I'm looking at the picture that you sent.
Well, I
see red targets.
That was reported.
Okay.
And makes sense why that would have happened.
Okay.
And just like all the there was no gun safety followed in this this little photo op. And so a reporter gets shot, and then the guy tweets, "Great day at the range," with pictures of the reporter who was shot.
Yeah. Well, it says, "Great day at the range. We got to hang out with some union workers while exercising our freedom. Always have your first kit handy. Shrapnel can always fly when you hit a target like today, and you've got to be ready to go. We had our 4 first aid kits, so we were able to take care of the situation. I'm glad Ryan is okay and was able to continue reporting." And then it shows them tending to somebody's arm, and there looks like there's some blood coming out of it. So I'm not a firearms expert. I don't know what the distance is that you're supposed to shoot at different materials. With like different types of ammunition, I have absolutely no idea if he was being negligent or not. What did the reporter say about it?
That he was being recklessly negligent. There's also tannerite powder on the table right in front of him, which explodes when you shoot it.
Let's see here. I'm looking at the picture. Yes, there is tannerite right there. Tannerite's ridiculous, by the way. It can be fun, but it's like a little bit scary.
Yeah, and they like if you were to draw a picture in like a gun safety course of like point out all the things that you should not be doing, this would be a great one to use.
They're also speaking of Democrats. I saw that the Democrats are asking George W. Bush, why he has not endorsed Kamala Harris yet. And this was my thing when they were like bringing out the Cheney family. Why? I don't get it.
Did you see Jon Stewart talking to Tim Walz the other day about that?
Does anybody like the Cheney family?
Tim Walz loves them.
What did he say?
He brought up like 2 or 3 times how excited they were to have Dick Cheney's endorsement, and Jon Stewart goes, "Dude, what the fuck are you talking about, dude?"
Yeah,
and Walz like, "Well, there are other people too, but like,
he was like, we won't take their foreign policy advice."
Yeah, like Dick Cheney, George W. Bush, these are war criminals. You should not want their advice, or you should not be touting an endorsement.
Is the whole thing they're just like as many Republicans on their side? I mean, is that just...
Yeah, the strategy from the Democrats is that they want to convince Republicans, traditional Republicans that might not be fans of Donald Trump, that it's okay to vote for a Democrat in this election. Mm-hmm. And so by having Republican endorsements, they might pick off some of the like traditional conservatives. Mm-hmm. But
does this work?
I feel like it also alienates a lot. Like, Democrats hate Dick Cheney. A lot of Republicans, since Bush has gotten out of office, have, with the benefit of hindsight, looked back and said, well, that was a real big mistake. Why did we ever trust those guys? So I feel like the approval rating of the Cheneys across the board is as low as it can be. And George W. Bush, who, by the way, I still think he would be, if he was still drinking, I think he'd be a cool guy to have a beer with. But
Bush?
Yeah. But not a guy.
Yeah,
but he's also a war criminal and a shithead.
I'm so confused. Does this shit work, dog? Like, I just can't. And maybe it's just, I don't know. But like, does this shit work? Does campaigning work? Do people go to rallies or do people watch Donald Trump serving fake hamburgers to niggas and be like, yo, this is why I'm. Does this work?
I think
I feel like it's insulting to the American people. All of this shit is insulting. Like we should be insulted that we have to be marketed to like they are selling us a product. Like this is like I feel crazy looking at all of this buildup. Like, bro, I feel insulted that you would insult my intelligence enough to think me watching you serve fucking burgers at a restaurant, mocking people who actually know how to do that shit, or going on podcasts. It's just, I don't know. That shit is just frustrating. Yeah, to the nth degree. I know. Like this shit is insulting.
I know what you're saying. It's like it's the people that would attend a rally for a president. They're probably going to vote for that. They're not going into that rally being like, I'm going to give her a chance to win me over at this rally. You know, like who you're voting for if you go to that rally. But I think that there's got to be something that proves it out where the more excited you get people about voting for you, the more likely they are to actually go out and like take the time out of their day to cast a ballot. If you're not excited about voting for somebody, you're less likely to actually vote for them. So I think that's what the marketing does. But I kind of agree with you, Arian, that it's weird where they plan their entire schedule about going to certain cities and talking to crowds and stuff in order to win that vote, because it's like, people know who they're going to vote for. They're not going to use a speech at a rally in person to decide that.
Notice like, and it's usually always swing states. They spend the majority of the time in swing states. So it's like it's just, I'm growing tired of living on this planet.
I'm sick of political season. I can't wait till after the election.
We're only 10 days?
10. I cannot wait for it to get here. I'm sick of seeing the ads on my TV. I'm sick of everybody being pissed off online all the time. I'm sick of just nonstop.
Well, that's never gonna go away.
But I think it's worse during like the final days of a campaign.
That's true.
Like I'm sick of having like every single tweet on the timeline that's not about sports be about like, oh well, this so and so is doing this podcast, or so and so just did this. Vice president elects are going after each other. Like I'm sick of the entire discourse around it. Done with
100%.
Trump's going on Rogan Friday.
I saw that. Yeah, that'll be interesting.
I think I heard Kamala was too at one point. I don't know if that ever came to fruition.
I mean, she should do it.
They both should.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You know what? Rogan might ask him about Saudi Arabia. That would make me very happy. I would like to hear a straight answer about that, about how come we still haven't gotten the full information behind 9/11. Why are we protecting the Saudi royal family?
Was that?
I would love for a interviewer for any presidential candidate to just actually make these motherfuckers define the shit that they are talking about. You know what I mean? Like, for Kamala, I don't know, make her spell out her policies in detail. For Trump, you call everybody a Marxist, just define it for me. You know what I mean? Or what's your healthcare plan? Like, what's up with the hair? And don't let them skate. Like, interviews is just always these softball answers where they just let them skate and they talk, and it's like, well, we ain't moving on until we answer these questions. They don't ever answer the questions, and that's what infuriates me about these. I feel like Maddie right now on her Cleveland Tyrant.
Go for it.
Yeah,
I hand you my soapbox.
Shit is getting old, man. I just feel, y'all don't feel frustrated from like you just get placated to like we're dumb.
Yeah,
that is frustrating to me, and I feel like it's because we allow it.
Well, hang on. Aren't you the one that says most people are dumb?
Yes.
So then that makes perfect sense.
Maybe that's the frustrating part. Maybe I don't want to be vindicated in that thought. Like I would like outrage that we have presidential candidates putting on a McDonald's apron, bro. What? And you're against raising the federal minimum wage.
That was a funny moment where they asked him that question.
It's so silly, bro.
Like, they make beautiful fries. McDonald's fries are
yeah.
the best. That's not even up for debate.
Yeah. The more I age though, the more I like Chick-fil-A fries though.
The waffle.
Man, it's maybe it's just a different and it's a switch up. But this may be a hot take. I'll take tater tots over fries any day.
That's not a hot take.
I like mixing in some tots.
Anywhere I go that they have tots, I'm getting tots.
Yeah, tots are superior, dog.
So rank potatoes. I think have we done this?
Yeah.
I feel like we have. Yeah.
I think like multiple times.
Yeah. Okay. All right,
I mean, what's one more?
I ask people this all the time because I'm just curious about people's perception of potatoes. Like, what's the best way to cook
Perception of
Are
potatoes.
we assuming each is done at their best?
At their peak, yeah.
Then tots are one.
You think
I think
a
so,
great
too.
tot beats like the best twice baked potato you've ever had?
Yeah. By far, actually. I wouldn't even. That might not even make my top 5. Baked potato.
The best. Twice baked.
I don't. Is that like refried beans? What is that?
You bake it. You bake it, then you scoop out some of the potato, and then you mix it with like the cream cheese, the scallions, the bacon, a little bit more cheese, maybe some sour cream, salt, pepper. Then you put it back in the potato, and then you put that back in the oven, and then you bake that for a little bit.
I'm not sure I've ever had one.
Oh, change your life.
Well, take me on a date, man. We'll go get some twice baked potatoes.
I'll make you some twice baked potatoes next time you're in Chicago.
No,
We'll froth them.
I'll tell you a very underrated potato.
Yeah.
If you go to a restaurant that does like homemade potato chips,
Okay.
those are outstanding.
Yeah.
Yep.
People aren't talking about orange curly fries enough, in my opinion.
Curly fries, crinkle fries, also good.
Oh, mashed potatoes. What are we talking about? Garlic mashed potatoes? I'll take those over fries too.
Are you just not a fry guy?
No. I'm just saying. I think fries are a little overrated in the potato category of how to prepare a potato. I think we're kind of inundated with fries because it's like the fast food go-to, but like it's not the best way to have a
They're
potato
so good though.
at all.
Salty, crispy, golden.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
I'm just it's a little overrated.
I saw one thing on my drive home from work the other day I wanted to run by you guys. And maybe this is more of a question for Mad Dog and McKinsey from the female perspective. I was driving behind a car and it said just married, it had the writing on there, and then it had like, decorations, streamers, things like that. And then right underneath the big just married sign, it had the woman's Instagram handle.
Oh, I was going to ask if it had a Venmo.
Not a Venmo.
I was gonna say I've seen
That
the
would be
Venmo.
lit.
I see the Venmo a lot now for bachelorette parties by
Yeah.
the bride
I ain't mad at
by the
that.
bride of drink.
I like that. This was
That's
just
pretty
The
dope.
Instagram with
Instagram
the
handle.
just married.
that's very interesting to me.
An interesting combo.
And only her Instagram.
Interesting combo.
Yeah.
And your shirt, did it say like IG?
Actually,
blah, blah, blah.
I-
Like,
may-
could it have been her Venmo?
maybe I assumed it had the @ but
It might be. I think it might be their Venmo.
I feel like it would say Venmo :
Well, don't you think it would have said IG ?
I think I maybe just assumed that's what it meant.
I'm gonna give this newly married couple the benefit of the doubt and assume that they're not giving the wife's Instagram away on the highway. And I'm thinking
Because
that
if she was doing that, then it's like, are you really married?
yeah, right. I
Right.
think maybe it's we just got married, honeymoon fund Venmo.
But it's only her Venmo.
Well,
She might just be making money.
Nobody wants to see dudes.
That's
yeah.
actually
no one's gonna send dudes money.
That's true. That's a good point. I'm gonna just
Even women don't even want to see dudes. They'd rather look at the girl too.
yeah. I'm gonna get a bumper sticker or like a sticker on the back of my El Camino that says "just married" and then like a fake woman's name, Venmo handle,
yeah.
or like bachelorette party
Yep.
Venmo, and then just see how much money I make off it.
I would like to see how much you would get from something like that. But yeah,
But you driving around in that car, I guess you kind of do look like a woman with your hair
That's very
flailing in the wind.
yeah, no, I'm gonna say that's probably their Venmo, and they're probably like help me fund my honeymoon. That's what I would say, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I'd assume that.
Yeah.
I'm willing to to think maybe I was wrong. Maybe
who
I was
knows?
hasty in my assumption.
But who knows? Yeah, maybe the husband thinks his wife is so hot. He's like, look at what I just bagged.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I doubt it though.
That clears it up a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else we want to get into?
I'm 10 pounds from my playing weight. I've been working, dog. I don't know if you can see
Let's
it.
go. Congrats.
Holy shit.
I'm looking good, man. I'm almost there. Give me like 3 more weeks to really start chiseling this thing out, and then I can coast.
You're running.
I'm excited. Yeah, I've been running every day.
What's your mile time?
I don't do that.
You just run?
I just go, man.
Just go till you're tired?
Yeah, I don't care about that anymore. That has gotten me over the hump of exercising. Because I used to exercise with an intent. So I had to hit times. I had to hit certain weights. I had to hit certain milestones. Now I have to like unravel the thought of that high intensity. Now I can just relax and work out and get my reps and get my sets. Nice little jog. I'll push it when I feel I need to push it. I know my body pretty well. And that's been good. That's been good for me, man. It's got me in a nice mental space. Yeah.
What was your mile time when you were playing? Like I feel like in my head, NFL
it wasn't
players,
crazy. It was like 6 something.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. I wasn't really a long distance runner. Like my shit was like 400 meters.
Right. That's what in my head. I'm like,
200.
NFL players don't need to have this, like, I feel like distance running.
No, it's
like,
different.
Yeah, it's like short
It's different.
bursts.
It's different. I mean, 6 minutes is moving. Don't get me wrong. But
Yeah.
it's, like I can't hit 6 minutes right now.
Rugby players have to have both. That's what's interesting.
Like when I said at my
No
height,
helmets, too.
No helmets.
I was
yeah.
hitting 400 meters. I was really like 50, 55. That was my goal time, which is moving.
I was gonna say I don't know. I can't really tell you.
No pads at all, really.
Yeah, no pads.
Yeah.
I mean, you can wear these tiny little foam
Right.
things, but those don't really do anything. 80-minute games too,
Crazy.
which is
Except for
20
the
minutes longer.
sevens, which are
Yeah, those are short. But I'm talking about real rugby. Yeah,
Right.
there's no breaks. You get a halftime, and that's it. But it's just continual motion.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to ask you this, PFT.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Was you finished? My
Oh
bad.
no, we're just comparing rugby and football, and which one is more of a physically exerting activity.
Yeah, no, I was here.
Yeah.
I didn't go anywhere. I was
Okay.
listening. But no, I had a question that had nothing to do with that. But it was about, and I want to know if you knew this. It just because I don't know shit about this. When Elon said, not to dive back into politics, but Elon said he's giving $1 million a day for people to sign up for his super PAC.
Yeah.
Is that legal?
I don't know because much like our guest, I'm not a lawyer.
Right.
What I've read is that the petition thing that he's doing, you're signing a petition in favor of free speech, and then you're given like $50 or whatever for how much you like if you sign and if you get other people to sign up, which is essentially it's a voter registration drive, and
Got you.
apparently that is not illegal.
Got you. Yeah.
What is questionable is the raffle giveaway of $1 million to random people. But again, I don't know the law behind it. I would assume that Elon has a team of lawyers that he ran this by, but again, not sure.
Cool. I don't want to get too deep. I was just genuinely curious if you know.
Yeah, I don't have any. Did you see that he posted that the fake headline from the Atlantic yesterday?
Who did?
Elon, there was a screenshot that was going around that said Donald Trump is literally Hitler as like the name of an article that was in the Atlantic, but it was photoshopped. It wasn't a real headline. And so Elon posted it, and he was like, "Look at them! They're foaming at the mouth." And then there were like 4 community notes underneath it, being like, "This is a fake screenshot."
Hey, he be getting community noted all the time, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, I at the end of the day, I feel like Elon could have the power to say, "Take the community note off my post," and he just lets it hang up there. So I guess good for him for not doing that. I don't know, he's still a dork.
Yeah.
And anyone that gives a shit about us calling Elon Musk a dork, we've been doing
You're a
this
dork.
for. I think I probably first called him a dork in 2016, long before he was in politics.
He's a dweeb. You see him picture or the video of like when he goes on stage, he does this weird ass jumping motion.
Yeah,
What is that, right? That's like you could tell he was never the cool kid. I can tell you that.
I also think it's very cool what he's done with the rockets that come back to Earth and get caught. Like, that's amazing. I don't know how much of that is his work.
What he do?
He figured out how to make a rocket, a reusable rocket, because like when we shoot spaceships into outer space,
okay.
the booster separates and falls back to Earth. We can't use it again, and those are expensive. And so he figured out a way to launch a rocket up and then have the booster come back to the original launch spot and get caught by the launcher.
Did he figure that out, or did somebody else?
I don't know. It could be people. I'm sure it was a team effort, people that work for him. I don't know how much he had to do with it individually, but that's a very cool innovation.
Because that's the thing. Like the more you look into him, the less you are impressed. A lot of him is just buying his way into companies and kind of taking credit up. Like he bullied his way into Tesla and got the original founders up out of there.
Yeah, I don't know how that worked with SpaceX,
right.
But at the end of the day, it's a cool thing that happened. So that's nice.
Yeah, man.
All right, we got anything else we want to get into, or you guys want to talk about YSL?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so before we get to the interview, if you're unfamiliar with the YSL trial, Young Thug's trial, it's going on right now in Fulton County, Georgia, and I think it's already the longest trial in Georgia history. It's on pace to maybe be the longest criminal trial in United States history, and it centers around Young Thug, and they're claiming that he is the leader of a gang called YSL, which is either Young Stoner Life or Young Slime Life, depending on who you're listening to at the time. But Young Slime Life is the alleged gang that he's in charge of.
Or Yves Saint Laurent.
Or Yves Saint Laurent, yeah, if you want to listen to the defense attorney. So there's Young Thug, and there were initially 27 other people that were charged under the Georgia RICO Act, which is RICO Act. It's racketeer influenced and corrupt organization. And it was originally an act that was put into place by Richard Nixon in 1970 to take down the mafia, like organized crime. So in the past, you could only get charged, like if you're a member of the Gotti family, you commit a murder, they catch you, they charge you with the murder, but nobody else can be prosecuted for it, even if like the Gotti family put the hit out. So what they did was they made the RICO Act so prosecutors could charge the entire group for an individual crime. So the entire Gotti family could be charged for an individual murder if they could prove that you did certain elements, you met certain criteria to show that the murder was done to help the gang in some way, shape, or form. So back in the 70s and 80s, Rudy Giuliani prosecuted a lot of New York mafia members. He claimed to have invented the idea of using the act to target the mafia. The University of Notre Dame law professor, G. Robert Blakely, he wrote the Organized Crime Control Act of 1970. RICO is a part of that. And in 2023, Giuliani, Trump, and 17 other co-defendants were charged in Georgia with the same prosecutor, Fonnie Wells, under the RICO law for the conspiracy to overturn the 2020 presidential election. So if you're hit with a RICO charge, you're pretty much fucked. Historically, you've been fucked on this. It's like they can try you all at the same time, and they can sentence you to a fuckload of jail time if they can prove that one member of your gang did something wrong. So the scope of RICO has been expanding over the years. So it's gone beyond just mob-related prosecutions. Right now, they have the RICO law that's been used to prosecute everything from street gangs to politicians. RICO gives the government the ability to freeze assets of the defendant before the case goes to trial. So they could accuse you of a crime and then say you're not allowed to sell your house, you're not allowed to withdraw money from your bank account because you've been charged with a RICO Act. So what is racketeering? Racketeering could be arson, bribery, counterfeiting, distribution of controlled substances, guns, or drugs, embezzlement, extortion, gambling, homicide, kidnapping, mail fraud, money laundering, robbery, wire fraud, and witness tampering. So if you want to convict a defendant under a RICO charge, the government must prove that the defendant engaged in 2 or more instances of racketeering activities within a 10-year time frame, and that the offenses were committed in connection with an enterprise. So the enterprise could be a corporation. It could be a loose group that doesn't have any like paperwork behind it. Excuse me, like the Gotti family. They didn't have like an employment contract for people. But if the act was done in service of the Gotti family, then they could charge everybody that's in this Gotti family enterprise with RICO. So yeah, it's Young Thug, and he got arrested in 2022. A lot of people that have been part of that original 27 other defendants have taken plea deals. Gunna, he took a plea. Young Thug's brother took a plea. Other members of the family or of the organization have taken a plea. Some are doing it in exchange for testimony. Young Thug is still in jail right now. He's tried to get bond, I think 6 times, but they ruled that he has to stay in jail until the trial is over. So basically they're saying that Young Thug, who's a very, very successful, famous rapper, that he used his organization, YSL, either as, I don't know if they're saying as a front for his musical career. His musical career was a front for the gang, but he's saying that he was in charge. He was a top guy, and that he instructed them to commit at least 2 murders and various other things, which the trial itself, though, has been just a circus. It's been crazy, going back to jury selection, and it's still going on right now. It's probably not going to be over for a very, very long time. And another big part about this case is they're trying to use his lyrics as evidence against him. So they're saying he said X, Y, and Z about a crime. We can tie that directly into this crime that we know happened. And so they're using that to say this should prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he's guilty of this. So there's a lot of people that are coming out in defense of recording artists, defense of rappers, and just people in the music industry, saying that it sets a very dangerous precedent to use lyrics in a song, which is a piece of art, as evidence in a criminal trial, because there's no way that you can say definitively that the person that was rapping about something is also confessing to a murder. They could be talking about anything, and there's a lot of gray area in that. So they've gone back and forth, and I think there were like 9 pages of lyrics that they finally agreed upon. Okay, you can use these lyrics.
That's why I seen them play, like they be playing slaps in the courtroom. It's wild.
Yeah,
I couldn't be in there and listening to that shit. It's tough.
There was a Hertz Rent-A-Car employee that allegedly rented a car to Young Thug that was later used in a murder. And they asked him, like, were you familiar with him before you rented him this car? He was like, I don't know if I was or not. And then he's like, wait, what year was this again? And I think he said, yeah, that's when the song Lifestyle came out. Everybody knew that song. That song was a banger. And so that's officially in the court record that it was a banger. But yeah, it's been a crazy trial. And
yeah, I think that's the biggest part that made that case so interesting. Is one, like you said, it's the longest running criminal trial in Atlanta history, which is wild. I mean, think about this. It's one of the major cities in America. And then 2, it's all of the moments that have went viral over it, and kind of the muddy waters that is this case. And usually, and we get into it when we talk to a person who's extremely knowledgeable about this topic, but we get into it about how I don't know how these moments have kind of manifested throughout the trial. And the waters are extremely muddied on the prosecution and the state bringing the case to convict them. And usually when they have RICO charges, it's kind of airtight. You're kind of like, normally they have, that they have a really good case. And as you kind of start looking over the evidence and things that are being presented, it doesn't necessarily seem to be the case. They do have a good case, but it's interesting, to say the least.
Isn't it kind of crazy too that the prosecutor at some time was like going back and forth depending on what day she was at work? She was like, okay, working on the Trump case today. Okay, working on the Young Thug case today.
Yeah, like a hell of a time for her.
Yeah, it's been a crazy trial for sure. And when it
Yeah.
comes to the lyrics, like if you were to prosecute every single rap artist that has talked about like guns or like just admitted to selling drugs in a song, like that, and it's not always true. Like you hear about a lot of rappers that like they're either telling a story about something they experienced, something that they went through, people that they knew, or they're trying to establish an image for themselves as somebody who's more of an outlaw to get themselves, more buzz and generate more album sales, streams, downloads, ticket sales, merch, etc. Because having that image like definitely increases your street credibility and makes people more likely to listen to your shit.
Some of their lyrics do get remarkably specific,
Right.
though.
Yeah.
Like, last friend, last mince word, tried me, almost got popped at Linux. Ask the cops, the detectives, they know all the business. Smith & Wesson 45 put a hole in his heart, better not play with me. Killers stay with me. And then there was one that said something about a Tahoe. Like they're talking about the specific cars and guns and where things happened.
Yeah. Very, very dumb. Very dumb.
There's a lot of skits about this. There's a lot of like skits out there about artists incriminated themselves with the lyrics that they use.
Yeah, this is probably an example where you read some of these and you're like, oh yeah, that's stupid as shit that he ever wrote that and recorded it and distributed it, and now it's like a massive hit, and now it's evidence against him. Like, yeah, that it seems like he is talking about specific things. I'm just saying,
but if you remember,
it's a very slippery slope to taking that and then being able to interpret any song lyric where an artist might be talking about like how many keys they got in the back of their truck at any given time.
You're not wrong. The difference between entertainment and a real life account of what happened is it's hard to tell. Like if you remember, we were talking about King Von and really the what do they call it? The drill music that kind of emerged out of the Chicago scene. A lot of it got its fervor because people love blood. Nothing sells more than blood. Sex sells, but blood probably sells more. And so they started detailing some of the crimes they were committing, and they dropping names, and they like literally, yeah, your homie dead, and I killed him. Like, and they named the homie name. They named where they killed him at.
Intersection, specific, like
blocks, and so those were real lyrics where a lot of those lyrics did get used in some of those cases, and a lot of those cats got popped. But like you said, it is a fine line, and like I said, it's stupid, it's dumb. I mean, I wish that we didn't have these unfortunate circumstances, but it's tough to watch from the sidelines for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's very salacious. Everything about this trial, like from some of the people that are being put on the stand to how the lawyers are acting. Multiple attorneys have gotten in trouble with the judge. I think at least one got arrested. There was Percocet that was brought into the courtroom and passed to Young Thug, and they caught him with it.
That's crazy. Just on the strength of like, you have a problem aside from the trial going on. You have a drug problem.
Yeah.
Like if you in a case fighting for your life and you're like, yo, let me get a pill.
Yeah,
crazy. That's crazy. Yeah.
So it was. I'm trying to look up. Oh yeah, it was Thugger. Yeah, so Thugger was in a court hearing, and he walked unattended up to Young Thug and put it in his hand, and then Young Thug tried to hide his hand under the table, and the deputy saw that and took the Percocet, and then they searched Thugger, who I think was already sentenced on a murder charge at that point, and they found more Percocet, weed, tobacco, and other stuff that was wrapped in plastic and food seasonings to mask the odor of the marijuana. I think there was another attorney that got caught by the security staff at the court trying to smuggle in. I don't know if it was Percocet. It was some sort of prescription pill, but it was in a bottle of like Tylenol or a bottle of a prescription that did not match what was inside. And so he was bringing that into the courtroom. They found that during the security check, and then they arrested that lawyer. So it's crazy shit going on. It's like a full season of The Wire.
Yeah, facts.
That's what they should do. This shouldn't be a movie. This should be like a 10-part series.
Yeah, it's got to be episodic for sure.
Get David Simon, the guy that wrote The Wire. Get him to write this out. I would watch that.
I'd be surprised if something's not already in the works
Yeah.
with this trial.
All right, so we're gonna get into a more detailed conversation with Melanie Goolsby. She's at I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. No,
But
oh, that's right. Yeah, I'm not a lawyer, but so she has spent like the last 2 years just immersed in this case. She knows more about it than anybody. So we'll talk to her. All right, we have a very special guest. It's Melanie Goolsby. You can follow her on social. You want to shout out your handles? I'm not a lawyer, but
Yes, sir. That's it.
okay.
On
Check it out. So we're going to talk to her about the RICO trial going on in Fulton County. I guess right off the bat, can you just kind of give your background and how you developed an interest in this case, what your areas of expertise might be?
Yeah, I called myself I'm not a lawyer, but because I'm not, I don't have all the legal expertise. But I have been consuming just a ton of legal stuff, lawsuits, docs, and trials for a while, and just started posting about it, and it became, successful. And so I had been watching the YSL RICO trial even before like the first day of testimony, because the jury selection was insane in and of itself, right? There was a ton of news happening about that. There was a lawyer who was, getting recused from the case, couldn't stay on it. There was some of the people who were being severed. And so I had been keeping up with it. And there were so many defendants. It's 28 total who were indicted. And some of them were on the run. They hadn't been captured yet. And so I just had a natural interest. And then once the first day of testimony started, I was like, okay, thinking it wasn't going to take forever. Here we are almost a year later, but I just started recapping every day to give people, just kind of an understanding of what's going on. And so once we got to the verdict, my goal was that people would be able to follow how the verdict was arrived. But, this case is one in and of itself. So
if we ever get there, because I feel like this is the longest trial in Atlanta history, right?
Yes, absolutely. And most expensive, I believe.
Yeah. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what the prosecution seems to be building a lot of its case around, or at least relying on the music aspect. So they fought tooth and nail to get a lot of the lyrics from various songs from lots of different YSL members included in, as things that you could use as evidence, as things that you can use to question witnesses, things like that. And it just seems to me like if the prosecution had a very, very strong case of an organized gang that was committing murders, robberies, doing all this sort of thing, if they had a really, really strong case, they wouldn't need to go through the lyrics to each individual song and pull out things that could be taken out of context and put into evidence as evidence that this is a gang, right? So do you agree with that assessment?
I do. I think that, one of the things that some of the detectives say on the stand is, we didn't use the lyrics in order to find the crime. We found the crime and that led us to the lyrics. That's what they like to say. But I think to the point that you're making, if you have video surveillance evidence, if you have DNA, if you have things like that, the lyrics aren't even really necessary, right? As a person who could be a juror, I'm looking at the actual evidence, physical evidence that you have, and that's enough. But what they're trying to do and the story that they're attempting to paint is rely heavily on these lyrics. And it becomes, I think the defense does an amazing job at pointing out that this is art. And this is left to the interpretation of the person listening to it. So how could you know? As well as you don't know the music process. You don't know which producers are involved. There's many writers on many songs. You don't know who wrote that particular line and what it has to do with, just because Thug may be the person saying it, it doesn't mean that it was his words. And so I think they do a great job at really pinpointing the fact that this is art and it's left for interpretation. And so the fact that you are trying to use it so heavily in order to, prosecute this case is ridiculous in layman's terms.
Sometimes when you're in a recording studio, you just say shit that sounds good,
Exactly. Yeah. And they talk a lot about perception.
Arian disagrees with that, by the way. I saw the look on his face. As a musician, I know Arian's like, that's not true.
No, I'm saying, look, I love Thug just like the next person, but like some of the shit is funny, man. Like, I don't know. I guess you could never know if he's actually done any of these crimes. But like, I know some cats from Atlanta, man. And niggas talk.
Well, and let me be clear. because I come into this, there are many Thug fans who are
Right.
like, free him and free everybody.
Right.
I'm not one of them.
Okay,
That's
cool. Okay, cool. Okay,
I
cool.
am a person who came into this wanting to understand. And so
Right.
on the contrary, to the point that you're making, I will say, and I'm not 100% saying this is the case here, but I will say, if you do a crime and then you want to go get in the booth and rap about that crime and be very specific about the gun that was used, the place that it happened, the vehicle that was in it, the person that you're talking about, I also feel like that's dumb. Okay,
Yes.
that's dumb. And so I do, but I see both sides. And
Yeah.
I think physical evidence, right? You can build a case off circumstantial evidence, sure. But I think art and lyrics, because of the way that they are targeted and the people they are targeted with, right? I think that it's important to also call out that it is art and it could be left for interpretation, as well as musical artists and in particular genres care about perception.
Right.
And some of them, if they want to be perceived a certain way, they may say things and do things because that's the perception they want to give off. And so I think that they're just, you have to take into account all of that.
Yeah, I
Sure. I think there's a fine line to walk for sure. I think in our in our communities, hip hop has kind of grown into this like this veil of authenticity. It's been covered in that, and as things like this kind of happen, cats tend to back off their statements in those lyrics, and that could be a product of them just wanting to get off, or it could be a product of they wasn't actually authentic. And either way, I'm cool with less crime being committed. But I wanted to kind of dig into um there's some things in this case, a lot of things in this case have gone viral.
Yes.
And it's like thing after thing keeps going viral. And it's from an outsider's perspective who hasn't been following, I'll just catch the clips every now and then. There's been a few things that we can talk about individually if you want. But like, so I remember very early, like one of the lawyers was like, he said, honestly, Your Honor, that's cap. So I remember that. And then the judge saying, "Yo, how did you know that?" This is a little later on, but he was like, "Judge, Judge, I guess they had like a meeting, and it was like, how did you know that?" And he was like, "We got to take a break," and very peculiar things that happen in a courtroom. And I just kind of wanted to get your perspective on the entire show, because me going through litigation myself, what I do understand is when, especially if it's a public trial, but if you have a jury, and it's not a bench trial, a lot of it is a show. And a lot of what the prosecution does and the defense does is to try to pull the emotions of the jury. And now even it being a public case, that is probably heightened. And so the details are probably a lot watered down. So I kind of wanted to get your opinion on just kind of the circus that is this trial to begin with.
Yeah. I think starting from day one, I had hopes that it was going to be a regular trial that was going to end in a reasonable amount of time and we was going to get a verdict. Over time, though, what became clear, and again, I people can disagree, but I go in unbiased. I'm like, prove what you're going to prove. Mm-hmm. What became clear early on, in my opinion, my non-lawyer opinion, is that the judge should have been recused. And so what was happening is he was making remarks and doing things that were clearly biased, something I hadn't seen in trials, like clearly biased to the state. And so all of that just, I think, like built up to these massive moments of ridiculousness. He's yelling at the attorneys. And so what ends up happening, I think, even just for the ex parte that you're talking about, there's a meeting with Kenneth Copeland, aka Woody, who was one of the key witnesses in this case. And they have this meeting, this ex parte, without the defense, right? And so the defense, they're arguing, has a right to be there. Brian Steele, who is Thug's attorney, announces in court, "I know y'all had this meeting and I wasn't there, and I'm calling for a mistrial and you're inappropriate for doing it." And the judge focuses in on, "How did you find out about this meeting?" And Brian Steele is like, "That ain't none of your business. The reality is you shouldn't have had the meeting." And so it becomes this very...
True, but how did he find out about the meeting? I'm kind of...
So over time, what has been discovered is that there was a deputy who seems to have tipped off, gave information to the defense, and then Kenneth Copeland's stand-in attorney, Caleb Bumpus, seems to have given the rest of the information to the defense. So it seems it came first from a sheriff or a deputy, and then Kenneth Copeland's what he kind of filled in the pieces.
This shit gonna be a movie.
I don't see how it's not.
That's crazy.
Was that the information that was shared on Instagram? I thought I read something about a deputy sending Instagram messages during court to somebody, and then that deputy was taken into custody.
Yeah, that was from jury selection. That's what I'm saying. Jury selection was even
From
crazy before witness testimony started. There was a defendant who had been communicating with a deputy, and he started using his attorney's laptop to Instagram DM her and do what he wanted to do. And so that gets caught, and he gets severed, and the deputy gets arrested.
During jury selection, there was also a very funny moment when the judge assigned a juror to write a 30-page paper explaining why the jury process is important in America. Because what was the story? The prospective juror took a vacation to the Dominican Republic and just kind of missed showing up for jury duty on Monday.
Exactly. That's literally what happened. She was on vacation in the Dominican Republic. They're trying to reach her. She doesn't show. And she comes in and she's apologetic. I called my grandma. I'm sorry. And he said, write me a paper.
Yeah.
How many days would you rather do in jail than write a 30-page paper?
I mean, listen, are we really doing that? Please. He's also had attorneys donate food or make a donation to organizations, and they ended up doing a strippers organization, nonprofit or something. It has been chaos.
I think I'd rather do a week in jail than write a 30-page paper.
It was a 30-page paper, and I think you had to have 10 cited sources and annotated bibliography and all that.
You could talk me into 2 weeks.
Yeah, probably 2 weeks. I'd say 14 days. If there's a TV.
Yeah. TV, I could go 3.
Yeah.
I have a question real quick. I know we're bouncing around a lot. Young Thug is obviously the main guy in the trial, but I see these names of all... There's side characters as well, many of whom I've never heard of before. So there's a guy named Slime Life Shawty. There's Lil Rod. There's one guy named Obama. So I was just wondering if you could give an explanation real quick of who is important and who is who, because there's all these other people that I think people don't know about.
Yeah. So like I said, there were 28 people actually indicted, right? And it should be stated that Kenneth Copeland, aka Woody, was not one of the 28, right? So he is not a co-defendant in this case. So over time, as they are preparing for this case, of course, they present plea deals. And so many of the co-defendants took plea deals. And so Slime Life Shotty, who you just mentioned, took a plea. Obama took a plea. And then between that happening and people being severed, you get down to the people who are actually on this trial. And so, of course, like you said, you have Jeffrey Williams. You also have, you said, Little Rod, Rodalius Ryan, who is a 19-year-old. He's already serving life in prison for a murder that happened in 2019. You also have Shannon Stillwell. He is, in this case, he is charged with, one of the people charged with the murder of Donovan Thomas, which is a key kind of component to this case. You also have Quamarvius Nichols. That's another person in this case. You have, I'm trying to go through the seating in my head to figure out who I'm missing.
That's impressive. I'm telling you, that's impressive.
I have to look at the indictment because I'm missing 3 people. You have Diamante Kendrick. How could I forget Yak? You have Diamante Kendrick, who is as well charged with the murder of Donovan Thomas as well. You have, I said Quamarvius Nichols, and maybe that's it. So those are the people who are actually on trial in this case that will get a verdict from this. The rest of the people are either accepted plea deals or have been severed and will have their own separate case at a later time.
When you talk about that particular murder being one of the key linchpin things that they're gonna examine very closely to prove that YSL is a gang and how they can use the RICO charges against them, what are the other main crimes that they're pointing at and saying this is what we're building our case around?
So, and let me give a fuller picture if I can. There are 65 charges in this case, okay? Count 1 is the RICO. but there are 64 other ones. And so the murder of Donovan Thomas is count number 2. So those people that some of the people are named, the state has to prove that murder in this trial as well. They don't only have to prove count number 1 being the RICO, right? And so I will say that there's count 2, the murder of Donovan Thomas, but there's another count there's a second murder that's going to be, try to be proven in this case, and that's the murder of Shymel Drinks. So those are the biggest like murder charges. But when it comes to count number 1, which of course, like I said, is the RICO, there are a bunch of smaller crimes, and I say smaller, but understanding context. They get a bunch of smaller crimes as well as overt acts that the state is showing that this was a network, trying to show that this is a network of people, an organization who were wreaking havoc on the town, and it was to further, the YSL gang, right? And so the way that, if you guys are like, girl, you're going too deep.
That's what we need.
Okay. Let me attempt to explain this in a way I try to do it to make sense. If the 4 of us were going to rob a bank, okay? And so PFT, maybe you work at the bank, okay? And so you're going to provide us the schedule of security, right? And then Big T, let's say you go to the store and you get the masks and some gloves for us, right? And then Aaron, you're going to be the getaway driver, and I'm going to go in here and rob the bank and come back out, and we out. We didn't all benefited from this, okay? So us coming together would be the conspiracy, right? That we're talking about specifically count 1. That's the conspiracy. Overt acts don't have to be crimes. So as an example, Big T, he went and got the mask for us.
He has plenty of KN95 masks anyways. I don't think you need to go to the store. But your point stands, yeah.
But if you buying masks at Walmart is not a crime.
Right.
However, if the state can prove it was done to further our conspiracy, to further our goal of robbing this bank, right? You can also, both of you are going to be held responsible for what I do, right? And so PFT, he got the schedule, again, not a crime, but it was done to further our goal, right? And so those are what you guys would have done in that scenario are considered overt acts. Again, doesn't have to be a crime, could be a crime, but doesn't have to be. Being a part of the overall conspiracy, you can be held for what I do because it was an agreement amongst us all, okay? And so I say that because there are 190 overt acts in this case, right? There are 190 getting the bank schedules, getting masks. And the state is, all they have to do is tie every other person in this courtroom to doing some of the overt acts. And as long as they can prove 2 were actually done and done in furtherance of the actual conspiracy, everybody can be found guilty of the RICO charge. Was that confusing, or did it make sense?
No, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Good breakdown.
And it was a law that was used a lot by Rudy Giuliani back when he was putting the mafia on trial. Also, isn't the same prosecutor, Fonnie Wells, she was put in charge of prosecuting Trump, and that was a RICO act as well. So 100%. This has been a big couple years for her.
Yeah. I mean, yes.
You got a lot on her plate.
Yeah. I think the reality is, to the point that you're making, right? RICO was originated as a federal charge. And so what has taken place is the state just doesn't seem like they were prepared to prosecute something this massive. And that is why we are almost a year in. And I would say the last 2 weeks have probably been the most important.
So yeah, what's happened in the last 2 weeks? Because like Arian, I've seen a lot of the viral moments. I think it was Thugger that handed him a Percocet, handed Young Thug a Percocet. I saw that. I saw the defense attorney saying Thug stands for truly humbled under God.
Yo, that one killed me, yo.
Opening statements, yeah.
that was a great moment. I mean, at that point, I saw him and I'm like, that's why you pay that attorney the big bucks, is to deliver these splash moments. But you're saying the last couple of weeks have been the most important of the trial, maybe not the most viral moments altogether, but important for the outcome. So what has been happening in the last 2 weeks?
One second before you that, because I definitely wanted to get into that. There's a few things that happened before, or one thing in particular that I kind of want to get your opinion on. because there's a lot of like hoopla around it, and so I kind of want to get. I haven't dug into no documents. I wasn't that invested, but
Yeah.
the plea deal that Gunna took. So Gunna, for people that don't know, Gunna's like he was in YSL, artist under Young Thug, and obviously a big artist. And so the hip hop community has kind of labeled him as a snitch. But from my understanding, he didn't necessarily tell, but he did take a plea deal, which he agreed or admitted to being a part of, conspiracy in the RICO. So I kind of could you kind of like say what what his plea was and what you feel actually happened?
Yeah, I should try to pull up his plea because he took it was an Alford plea. And an Alford plea is where you don't admit guilt. What you admit is it's probably not in my best interest to go to court with y'all because y'all have evidence. Even though I'm not saying I'm guilty, it just don't make sense. It's not a good idea. And so that is called an Alford plea. And that is what he entered into. So he did not admit guilt. He is not found guilty, right, of this. But in pleas, listen, this doesn't make sense to me, to be honest. And that's why I always emphasize I'm not a lawyer, because in pleas, there are factual acknowledgments. And so you're typically in a guilty plea, you say, yes, I'm guilty. And so with my guilt, I acknowledge that this was a gang and I did actions in furtherance of this gang. And I know about this murder. He has factual acknowledgments in his plea. What my mind always fixates on is how do you have to acknowledge something if you're saying I'm not admitting guilt? Like that part, it doesn't jive for me. But from my understanding, and I just don't have his plea in front of me, he acknowledged YSL as a gang and that he committed actions in furtherance of, the gang, or he was aware or whatever. I don't know specifically just off the top of my head. But in order to get the plea, I'm assuming they told him you have to acknowledge this, but he didn't admit guilt. I would have to look at his factual acknowledgement specifically to answer that fully.
Gotcha. And the last thing before, because I definitely want PFT's questions to answer, was like, to me, it looks like the state is struggling, and it had from the beginning. Can you kind of speak to that? Is that what you kind of feel is the case as well? And you kind of touched on it a little bit, but just like in detail if you can. Like, it looks like they're struggling to prove their case. And to me, when you have federal charges and you bring up a RICO, usually that shit is usually ironclad. It's like, I think they have over a 90% conviction rate. They usually have their ducks in a row, and this just doesn't look like they do.
Yeah, I agree that it doesn't. I think it was another viral moment where the judge was going off on the state attorney, and she said, "It seems like you are just putting this case together as you go." Yeah. That's the consensus. We are all like, y'all don't know which witness is next. Y'all don't know who you're calling next. And so this is an example of how I feel like they are throwing this together. They started presenting evidence on Donovan Thomas's murder back in February. We are now in October, and only in the last week did they actually put the story together of what they are seeming to say happened.
That's crazy. And they go to court every day, right?
Every day.
It's fucking crazy.
So think about a juror who was shown video from a gas station in February. And now, all these months later, you're going to bring in a detective to say, and he was at the gas station, and then here's the phone calls that match the gas station. I don't remember the gas station. I don't know what you're talking about as jurors, right? And they're taking in all this information. Sometimes it's exciting, like Kenneth Copeland, but other times it's forensics people who are boring and it's hard to pay attention and listen. And they've been doing this for almost a year. And so when people say they're losing, I say, in regards to these are regular 12 people who are the jurors you are expecting to remember and pay attention and follow what you're saying. That's ridiculous to think that that's happening.
Yeah.
On the other side, when you think about what's required as a checkbox for the RICO, people gonna stone me. I think that they have presented evidence to check 2 or 1.5 of the 3 boxes.
Okay. In my opinion. What are the three boxes they got to check?
Okay, so just like I was saying, number
one. Why is one of them a half?
Well, number one, the first checkbox is, were 2 overt acts committed? So they have to show that 2 or somebody in this group committed, like I said, right, buying some gloves and getting the schedule. They have to prove 2 overt acts happened. And like I said, they have 190. And some of the overt acts that they include is a picture of Thug posted on his Instagram throwing up a YSL sign. Some of the overt acts they have are crimes that have people have pleaded out to, right? Mm-hmm. So those are easy to prove because it's Instagram post. Show the Instagram post, check, we got it.
Boom.
Box number 2 is, were those acts, overt acts, done in furtherance of? They haven't gotten there, in my opinion. I think what they have proven is that this was a friend group who committed crimes, and they did it because they was trying to better their own life. I don't think it had to do with anything other than that. I don't think it's like for the benefit of the gang. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was no, show me a trap house that they all stayed at. Show me attorneys that was paid for through the organization, right? Mm-hmm. Show me something where everyone is benefiting from. And I don't think that's happened. And to be clear, for the Georgia RICO, it doesn't just have to be money. The benefit doesn't just have to be money. You can benefit in other ways. But I think that checkbox number 2, they're struggling. Checkbox number 3 is tying other people to the conspiracy. And because evidence has been presented that YSL is also a music label, I think that that's my half mark. Is because they've shown in some ways that it's a criminal street gang. And sometimes when you talk about these plea deals people have taken where they acknowledge this is a criminal street gang, okay, you kind of check it. But you also, in my mind, it's also a music label. So how you know it wasn't the music label?
Yeah.
So that's why.
Last little things, like, okay, because a lot of these cats, you know, the code is don't tell. Mm-hmm. If they don't take those plea deals, how weak is the case then?
Very.
That's what I kind of surmised. Yeah.
And with the one that I think you were alluding to is Trontavious Stevens, right? Where he was brought to testify. He got, I think, a pretty good deal from the prosecution, but part of his deal was you have to take the stand and you have to say this is a gang. And he got on the stand and he was like, it was just YSL. And they're like, wait, are you talking about a music label or are you talking about it being a gang? Mm-hmm. He's like, well, I mean, I'm trying to answer your question. It was just YSL. So it seemed like he wasn't even fulfilling the terms of, you could see the prosecution get upset because it's like, you're supposed to be telling me right now that it's a gang. This is what we had discussed. And you're not willing to say that. So have they proven that it's a gang, or is that the biggest piece of testimony that they have saying that it is a gang?
They have, Tick was one of the co-defendants, right, who took a plea, who's been on the stand. But you've also had Walter Murphy, aka DK, who was one of the co-founders of YSL. He got on the stand and said that it was one of his factual acknowledgments. Antonio Sledge, who was on the stand about maybe 2 weeks ago, his plea was essentially revoked last week because he got on the stand and did not say what he was supposed to say. So they put him in jail 5 years just last week. And so they have other, pleas that they're relying on. But I say at this point, I think that they've proven both. I think they've proven YSL was a criminal street gang, who was a part, is still up in the air. But I think it has also been very well established that YSL was a music label. Okay.
And so when we're talking about the murder that they put the gas station footage up back in February, what ties Young Thug and the rest of YSL to that particular murder?
So one of their theories, because I'm telling you, the state is put together as
so unimpressed.
Because it's like, bro, what are you saying?
Right.
Like, make the theory clear. Right. So what I had to do like a week or two ago is I went back to February and Overtime and tried to pull everything regarding Donovan Thomas and said, if this was a trial just for this murder, what are they actually saying? So what they seem to be alleging, right, is Jeffrey Williams rented an Infiniti, which like 4 days before the murder, okay? That vehicle was given to someone else, to Kenneth Copeland. And from him, it changed hands, multiple hands. And so they present this gas station footage, and it starts off maybe an hour, maybe 40 minutes before the murder. And it is from a gas station that is, I mean, mere feet away, right? Like less than a block. It's very close to where he's actually killed. And the view of this gas station, what they're basically saying is that you can see where Donovan Thomas was standing in front of this barbershop. On this gas station footage, they show Diamante Kendrick, again, one of the co-defendants in this trial. He parks, he comes into the gas station, he comes back to the car, and he waits. He waits there for maybe 40 minutes. Another car comes up. There's some switching. You can't see who the people are. There's some switching of seats. And then the Infiniti, according to them, you can't tell it's the Infiniti, but they say the Infiniti rolls up. And then what you see on the footage from the barbershop is Donovan Thomas is standing outside of the barbershop. He goes to his car. And at the same time, at the same time he's going to his car, the Infiniti and the other cars skirt off from the gas station. And within 5 minutes, Donovan Thomas there's a drive-by. So they're essentially saying Diamante Kendrick, Shannon Stillwell, again, a co-defendant in this case, and Justin Cobb, who's not in this case, and then one more person whose name is slipping me. They're saying that they were in, they haven't even shown which car they believe they were in, but they were in one of the two cars, left this gas station, and did a drive-by.
So that's their big evidence.
Damn.
Yes. And I mean, even they have the footage of the drive-by, right? You can't tell, in my opinion, you cannot tell that is an Infiniti. They had an expert come up and everybody
they can't even tell us the car. That's fucked up.
You can't.
God damn.
They brought in a guy who worked at like customer service for Infiniti. They put him on the stand and he's like, yeah, I've been working at Infiniti. I have an Infiniti. I'm an expert. And they're like, is that the Infiniti? He says, yes. Everybody is like, bruh, get out of here. Like you just can't see.
So. Is there any other like circumstantial evidence that ties them to this crime?
And this is why I'm saying the last 2 weeks have been important, because last week they bring in a FBI phone guy, and they're like, the phones are pinging in the area. Bruh, why would you present the video in February and then tell us the phones in October? Yeah. So they show these phones and they're pinging in this area, and then they begin calling each other. And then they go from that location to Jeffrey Williams' condo, and they're all meeting up at the condo. So that is the rest of the evidence that they've presented so far regarding this murder.
Do they have like chronological timestamps of it? Does it corroborate?
Yes, they have.
That's pretty big.
The shots rang out, according to the video, around 7:22. There are some calls that happened before 7:22, and then after like 7:29, I think 7:27 or 7:29, the calls start going. Mm-hmm. It's like increased phone activity between these people and Jeffrey Williams and some of the other, like all of the YSL people. There's like this phone activity, and then they meet at Jeffrey Williams' house.
And they're pinging in the area of the gas station.
Absolutely.
That's pretty big though.
Exactly. Yeah, right. And so it's like, why would you wait and roll this out like this? Like paint the picture for me. So yeah, that's what they have. That's what they're alleging. Again, I say I'm not a lawyer, and I like to say I'm not saying it's true or it's not true, but that is what they are putting across.
I hope, if it is true, justice happens for the young brother, but to future criminals, like, yo, stop bringing your phones on crimes. Like, it's like, what the fuck are we doing? It's crazy. They can track you, fam. Jesus Christ.
But I just want to say the other thing that was a massive moment is that Shannon Stillwell's attorney, who again is charged with this murder as well, his attorney is Max Sharp, who was a good time. If you ever want to tune in to a day of trial, watch when Max Sharp is doing cross, because it's a good time. When Kenneth Copeland was on the stand, Max Sharp paints a picture of the beef because even the state's theory about why this even happened is a little shaky.
Mm-hmm.
But the beef really seemed to be about, and Kenneth Copeland seemed to agree, it was like Kenneth Copeland and Donovan Thomas's like half brother. They were beefing, and it's this ongoing beef. And then the person who Thug gave the infinity to was Kenneth Copeland. They tried to say with this FBI, person that his phone was pinging at his house, but he says on the stand, I had 2 phones. Y'all just didn't know. And so it's like, did y'all? And Kenneth Copeland was originally charged with this murder. He was charged, and then the state was like, never mind. We think they did it.
Damn.
And so this is the evidence that they're proving, right? And so it's like, do y'all even know what happened? And so anyway, it was his cross of Kenneth Copeland really, I think, was important and left everybody silenced.
So there's a few other things that I was interested in that's kind of tied into painting the picture of this being a criminal gang. One of the first ones was that Young Thug was accused of threatening to shoot a security guard in the face. And I think he was like, I remember hearing something about him riding around a mall on a hoverboard.
Yeah.
And the security guard like gave him shit about it. It was like, you need to stop. And then he got into a car, and then somebody in that car threatened to shoot a security guard in the face. And they're saying that that's evidence of gang activity. To me, when I saw that, it's like getting kicked out of malls by security guards is fun. I did it a lot when I was a kid. Now, we never threatened to shoot the guy in the face, but we made fun of the person, It's kind of what you do. There was that, and I was confused how that could be used to show that this is a gang. And then there was another thing about YFN Lucci, where allegedly there were members of YSL that discussed getting permission from Young Thug to kill him. So they're saying like they had to, call it up the chain and get the boss's permission to go kill this guy. And I didn't know if you had heard about that or if what sort of evidence they had with that.
Yeah, I'll start with the first one. The mall incident was an overt act, right? So they're saying that happened. Again, that's why box number 2 is a little shaky, because they're saying it happened, right? And so again, it's like overt act. Okay, we got the video. That happened. How is it done in furtherance of why? What does that have to do with furthering or benefiting YSL, the gang, in any way? And that's why it gets a little shaky. But the mall incident was an overt act. Again, I don't think they tied the pieces together.
Yeah, I mean, it's bad to threaten to shoot somebody in the face. That is a crime, and if you do that, you should be prosecuted for it for sure. But when I saw that was evidence of it being a gang, to me that doesn't work out for me.
Exactly. Right, and I think the difference is, show me drugs were sold and the money went back. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a direct. This was done to help us, the gang. Doing that is like, okay. You did that on your own.
That's what I was going to ask, because part of RICO is like also there's drug allegations. Have they talked about drugs, selling drugs, having dope being sold, getting returns on the investments? Nothing.
When Tick was on the stand, Stevens was on the stand. She asked him if he was selling drugs, and he was like, "Yeah, but I was still broke. Like." Obviously, I wasn't good at it. That's the thing. Like, sure, they just presented some evidence of Diamante Kendrick's Gotti, he had like went on a police chase with the cars, and he was doing a whole bunch of stuff. And when they finally caught him, they go in there and he has some weed in there. So again, there's these small there's these possessions, but it's like, what that got to do with everybody else? Did he get that from the trap house stash? Did he, you know what I'm saying? Like that, again, that's the disconnect. And my opinion, my non-lawyer opinion, that's the biggest hurdle. Were any of these actions done in furtherance of, or were they knuckleheads who should have got sat down a long time ago, but instead was wreaking havoc, and they was doing it themselves?
So it sounds like it may be a gang, but it's not very organized.
That part.
So yeah, what about the like asking permission from Young Thug to kill a guy?
I am very familiar with what you're talking about. They haven't presented that in the trial yet. Okay. I don't know if you're going to. Some of that gets a little interesting. because of hearsay, right? Like if you're going to speak about some of this stuff or something someone said, many times you have to put them on the stand to say it.
Yeah.
And if they're not going to testify, then you can't introduce it. And so I'm familiar, but they have not introduced any of that.
Because to me, that would be a very cut and dry thing to prove as evidence of this is a clearly an organized criminal gang if they're asking permission to commit a crime, right?
Yep. Yeah. That, and again, that would be, now we talk about box number 2.
Right.
We ain't got there yet.
Yeah.
I don't know.
My other favorite moment from Brian Steele, besides when he was saying Thug stands for truly humbled under God, was when he said that Pushin' P was pushing positivity. So can you tell us, in your opinion, I know you're not a lawyer, but in your non-legal opinion, what does P stand for?
What does what?
P, Pushin' P.
Positivity.
It's positivity. Okay. Okay.
Absolutely. I thought you were going to say the other favorite moment is when Brian Steele walked up to that stand, untied his tie, and told the judge if he was going to go to jail, he wants to be bunked with Thug.
That's crazy work. That's crazy. That's crazy. Amazing. Work.
I said, I need him. That's who I want.
This is going to be a Netflix series. It's going to be amazing.
Has to be.
I bet you people are already working on it. Trial ain't even done. It's already got greenlit. This is insane. This is crazy.
So it was amazing.
How much longer do we expect it to go?
The other day, at the end of the trial day, the judge said to the state, I really would love if you guys were done presenting your case by Christmas, by the holidays. And they literally were like, and she said, that's not going to happen, huh? And they were like,
Jesus.
No. So again, you have to think about the state. We're still on part 1. The state is presenting their case. Once they are done, once they say the state rests, we have done what we can.
They haven't even rested yet.
There are 6 defendants in this case who have the right to present a case.
Yeah.
So once we're done with the state, each of them can bring up their own witnesses, their own evidence, and tell their own story. So who knows? It's going to go on forever.
Is the jury this whole time in like a hotel and not supposed to be watching TV and stuff like that?
Say it one more time. I missed it.
Is the jury sequestered this whole time? Like they're living in a hotel or? I
think that they watch I'm Not a Lawyer But videos. No, they're at home. They go home every single day after this trial.
Okay.
And
well, that's
supposed
good.
To not be consuming any media or anything related to this at all. They're supposed to. That's the instruction.
Good luck with that.
So do they get paid from like their job? Like how does that work? Because this is jury duty, right? So they get paid.
They get $25 a day from the state.
And
if you have a job that pays you, shout out to your job. Many of these jobs, many people have jobs that say you won't lose your job, but we're not going to pay you, especially for a year. Well, and many people are not being paid anything but this $25. And the other thing that's worth noting is that think about the people who have the ability to be on a case for a year and not get paid from their job. That is going to affect the jury pool that you can pull from.
Absolutely.
You can't pull me because I got bills.
Right.
So that alone, that's why jury selection took 9 months, right? It's because there were people who were saying to the judge, I can't afford to be on I have bills. What are you saying to me?
Right.
There have been one juror, she moved. She was a juror on this case and she was like, I'm moving. And they were like, okay, bye. So she is no longer on the case. Another juror a couple weeks ago told the judge that she got a job offer in another state. And they essentially told her, you can't take it. You got to stay here.
That's crazy. That's a huge part of the system amongst any other things that's just broken. Like you fucking with people's lives, which will absolutely taint their decision. Absolutely. Like they're looking at the prosecution like, yo, you wasted my time. Like that's
and I think that's the other risk. You are doing all of this, and these are the people who are going to have to determine the truth, essentially, determine a verdict. And they gonna be mad at you.
Mm-hmm. Jesus.
Yeah, it definitely seems the longer this goes, the less likely the prosecution is to get a conviction out of it. Is it a possibility that they'll be convicted of some crimes, not others?
There is, because each defendant they have to make a selection for each of the charges that they have been charged with. So there is a world. Listen, I'm going to make my bet. I wouldn't be surprised if it's hung. I wouldn't be surprised if it's not guilty or it's hung, because of how long the trial is going, because of how many charges there are. I imagine some people may pay attention to some things and others may pay attention to others. And so how are you going to have a meeting of the minds if you were focused on the one possession and I was focused on the one gun possession? I'm saying guilty, you're saying not guilty. Like, there's going to how do you even come to a meeting of the mind? So I could see a world in which this is hung, which would be brutal.
Yeah.
But, you know, we'll see.
And a big waste of money too.
And a big waste of money and time.
Oof. Them lawyer bills crazy right now.
And if I can just get on my high horse, the other thing is, right, the fact that you have to be able to pay for an attorney. Think about how much this stuff costs, not just for the state, but for the people trying to defend themselves.
Yeah.
And the state has the money and the resources to call in experts, to call the guy from, you know, the Infinity expert from North Carolina. They flew him in. But if I'm paying for my own defense, I may not have the money to truly defend myself the way that I should be, but it's money. And so it becomes really unfair, especially when you have a trial that's going on for this long and you are calling unnecessary witnesses that don't further prove what you are trying to say. Mm-hmm. Like, let's get to the point.
Yeah. And if you're a Georgia resident, then you're probably pissed off that it's your tax dollars it's a trial that's taken this long, and we haven't even gotten to the defense part of it. You're like, this is what I'm paying for. Like every citizen of Georgia is paying for this long investigation. Do you get the sense that there may be plea deals taken by some of the defendants? Maybe not in exchange for testimony, but maybe in exchange for, you know, they'll admit to it so we can cut this trial short. The prosecution's probably a little bit worried that they're not going to be able to prove everything they thought they could prove. Do you get the sense that that's still on the table?
The judge has asked them repeatedly since she has been brought in, since the first judge was recused and Paige Whitaker, the new judge, has been on. She has said at least 3 times, hey, y'all want to discuss maybe some pleas this weekend and let me know next week. I'm open to whatever. And they always come back like, moving on.
That's
moving
crazy.
on. So it doesn't seem like there is really any interest. I'm not sure if it's from both sides or one or the other, but it doesn't seem like there's really any interest for pleas, because she has emphasized that on more than one occasion since she's been brought in.
And what are the possible sentences, like maximum sentences?
Ooh, good question. I'm not even gonna lie, I don't know the answer to that.
I'd imagine it's a long time.
Yeah, I think I want to say the RICO could be 10 to 20. Something like it could be, I don't know. And don't give me the line. I don't know the minimums or maximums.
Okay. Arian, you got any more questions?
Yeah. And I guess, I mean, I don't think there's many people that know more about this case than you, man. So in your professional opinion, I mean, shit, it's impressive. You got all this shit just sitting up there. What is some of the, you know, because the case is so, you know, it's just heightened because, you know, Thug is who he is. He's a big staple in hip hop, Atlanta scene. And so you have people on both sides, like, he gonna get off versus he gonna sit in there. What is some of the, I guess, both sides of the fence? Would you like to clear up some of the gossip that goes on? I'm like, all right, listen, like, this ain't it, or this is not as true as you think it is, or listen, we gotta pay attention to this. Like, what on either side, what is like the biggest thing that you see is like misinformation or people get wrong in the blogosphere, in the podcast circuits?
Yeah, I think for sure. I mean, and I just don't have the plea in front of me. The Gunna plea for sure. Like, people knowing that it was an Alford plea, it was not a guilty plea. He did not like admit guilt per se, but he does have factual acknowledgments. But so that. The other thing, like I was saying, Kenneth Copeland, aka Woody, was not a co-defendant, because a lot of people have been like, how come he, you know, basically didn't get arrested? How was he able to get on the stand and do all of that for all those days and not have like any real repercussions? The reality is he was the same as me in this case, just a person who was called. I wasn't called, obviously, but he was just a person who was called, right? And so there were no factual acknowledgments that he had to say on the stand. That just wasn't his situation. The other thing is, I think, again, there are just making sure people know that there are 65 counts in this indictment. Count 1, the RICO, is just number 1. So while they are proving 190 overt acts, they also spent so much time on Donovan Thomas's murder because that's count number 2. They still have to go through Shymel Drinks's murder because that's another count in which people are charged with. And at the end of the day, the verdict, the jurors are going to have to say, did the state prove that these people killed this man? There are some possession charges, gun charges, things like that. So all of that also has to be proven. Right. And then the last thing I would say is my good old 3 check boxes, which is, at least 2 overt acts has to be committed, and the state has to prove they were committed in furtherance of. And as long as they can tie other people to the general conspiracy, they all can be guilty of count 1 because of the 2 overt acts that the state has proven were done in furtherance of. Like, we all can be held accountable, even if y'all did a little part. If I committed the action in order to benefit all of us, we all can be held guilty. Right. And so just making sure, that people understand that, and hopefully I say it in a way that makes sense. But those are, I would say, the big things.
You've done a beautiful job. I highly appreciate it. Last little thing, you on a jury box, what's your verdict?
Based off of what has been here's what I'll say. Because I have the ability to watch video and rewind and do a recap and present information in a way that actually makes sense versus the way that the state is actually proving it. So as a person who's been able to go back through, I still wouldn't say guilty, to be honest. I wouldn't. I don't think that they have presented their case. Sorry, I don't mean to be long, but
no, it's your thing.
Trials and attorneys, one of the key components of that is storytelling, right? Like, you have to tell a story to the jurors. Tell a story in a way that makes sense. Put these pieces together. If you don't do that, good luck. And in my opinion, these are the worst storytellers I've ever seen, ever. And so that is why I would say, I don't know if I would be able to get to guilty, personally. And I'm not saying that some of these boys shouldn't get guilty.
I'm with you.
I don't know if the evidence presented has done the job.
Beyond a reasonable doubt.
There is.
Yeah. I highly appreciate you. It was on such short notice and you came through and delivered. It's, like I said, there's not many people that know more about you than this. I would put my last dollar on that one. So I highly appreciate you, Ma.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much. Big T, you got anything else?
That's it.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us, Miss Goolsby. And look forward to staying updated.
Yeah, you want to shout out any of your socials, or is this all across the board? TikTok, YouTube?
Yes. TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. I'm not a lawyer, but all one word, all together. I post recaps of the trial, many of the 150. Today's day 150, and I've done probably 148 at the least.
And I feel like it's about to get even crazier too once the defense starts calling their
say that.
I mean, you don't think that what's his name, Brian Steele's going to have some magic up his sleeve?
Brian Steele and Max Shard. Let me tell you that Max Shard is.
Okay, well, I look forward to hearing more about it.
Sure. All right.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
All right, that was very interesting. I think it's going to be either a hung jury or a mistrial before we even get to the deliberation process. I don't see any way that this ends up with all 12 of the jurors agreeing on things.
I probably would agree with that assessment. Which, it depends on how much. Again, one of the points that she made is really big. It's about how long this process is taking and the jurors involved, and how upset one can be that you still got me stringing along in this bullshit.
Yeah.
And that could go unfavorably towards the prosecution. So, that seems like more likely what's gonna happen. But you know what I mean? It's interesting, man. It's wild happenstance that's happening.
Yeah, I mean, imagine being a juror and your entire life has just been going to the courthouse every single day, watching this trial. You gotta, at some point, you have to be pissed off at the prosecution for taking up so much of your life, right?
Yep.
Also, you want to get real deep about it, and by deep I mean, like, imagine you're in 10th grade, you're high in your friend's basement, and it's like pretty average weed, but you feel like it's way stronger because it's, you're doing a bad thing, you're getting away with something, you're starting to have a deep conversation. You're like, wait, couldn't the United States government be tried and hit with a RICO charge? Think about that. An organization, they commit crimes for the betterment of the rest of the organization. Think about it.
High key.
Think about it.
High key.
Like, couldn't the UN be like, every war crime that you've done, like, you're all responsible for this?
Getting real left, Pete. Left PFT here. Getting real left, buddy.
Is that left?
That's super left.
I like to see bad people punished for war crimes. I'm anti-war crime. If that makes me left wing.
I'm anti-war. Yeah, it does.
Okay. If I'm anti-war crime, then I am, whatever you want to call me, whatever that is.
Murder's okay here as long as it's collateral damage.
Yeah. Oops.
My bad, dog.
I didn't know that was a wedding.
Off you.
I thought it was a terrorist meeting. All right. We will see you guys on next Tuesday for nanodosing. And until then, have a beautiful weekend. Stay handsome. Stay gorgeous. Love you guys.